All right, this month's Parks Board is now in session. Sorry for the late start. We do not have any general public comment unless anybody here didn't get to sign up for that. I think most of the public comment is Big Branch related. We will do that after the Big Branch schematic presentation. Nobody? Okay. Raleigh Youth Council, no report. They're on summer break. But we have an update from the RPD Greenway unit that is going to happen tonight. So fantastic.
Is she bringing it up? All right. Well, good evening. I'm Sergeant Jeff Burgess, and I am the supervisor for the, let's say it's not newly inaugural unit, but the RPD Parks and Greenway unit. Today is pretty much, I'm going to give you the evolution, a quick evolution, how this became a unit and where we're at on our progress on coverage. Okay, that's what I started out with. So in May 14th of 2022, we were granted through City Council for the Police Department to, let's take a look at what the parks and the greenways not being covered routinely with the patrol officers. So it took about 9 months to develop the unit. It was presented, granted, and in May we started. So the first year was basically a pilot program. So it basically was an information gathering on what the city officers and what we can do as a police department. This is what we had on foot and on bicycles. So basically this foot patrol, it says parentheses and parks. As you guys know, many of the greenways go right into parks. Well, averaging 2.3 on a walk and about 8 miles an hour on a bike. You see the statistics, that's what we really pulled in for 1 year. The police department was looking at, all right, how are we going to do operational efficiency? We were able to maneuver to get some more manpower, and the way we transported, it had to be more efficient. So the evolution of the enduro bike. An enduro bike is, if you guys been on the Greenway, it basically looks like a dirt bike, but it's silent. It's EV driven. That quadrupled, as you will see here next, the square footage miles we were able to cover to be seen. Taking the needs of the parks with the needs of the police department, combine that with the needs of the population, of the concerns of the Greenway. A lot of things. Better? Yeah. During the pilot program, you learn, okay, you go in one thing and you're learning there's other needs. So we were able to go ahead and increase our unit by a few officers, and I was able to bring in the mounted patrol. Now, the mounted patrols specifically do not obviously cover the square footage as an enduro or a UTV. But being out in the public to be able to, for the public to contact us was the main objective. So we're able to do that, and those are the hard numbers that I produced. And when you do daily reports and you have to do each day and do a number, I'll tell you, that takes a while to develop. But as of 2024, the foot patrol is no longer foot patrol. It's mixed in with our UTV, enduro, bicycle, and foot. So we changed our ways of how we can present ourselves to the people on the Greenway. And the positive the response has been just wonderful. Okay, here's the comments that I, as supervisor, have encountered during my last 2 and 2.5 years. Okay. Has anybody ever ran into maybe a vehicle on the roadway, on the Greenway? These are not scare tactics, but these are the things that we come across. The Greenway unit also works with the Greenway maintenance, and maintenance has to be done. Bollards are put up and dropped. Bollards are for the reason why the vehicle on the right is in place. The city is always under some kind of detour. And if you're not familiar with the city and you're not familiar with the width of our roads, you can see a 10-foot Greenway entrance can be confusing. So if you guys encounter why the bollards up, bollards are down, bollards are up, it's because maintenance has to be done. Police are on there as well. But there's a duration where any citizen on the Greenway has to remember there is a time where you can see this. But that's what we all have cell phones. You call 911, we'll put a stop to this, okay? The most common question. Speed on the Greenway. Anybody here have a complaint about speed on the Greenway? Not one? There we go. Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and get this out of the way. It's not covered under general statute. We ask, and while we're out there, is voluntary compliance. So most of the time, when we ask somebody, we just ask them nicely. And now there's 6 of us out there all the time during daylight hours and a little bit in the evening. We're getting voluntary compliance. And by that interaction alone, we don't need to set up a speed trap and all that good stuff that people have all been asking for. It really does work. Just looking at somebody and explaining to them, hey, you're going a little too fast. The response has been great, and it's been working. Number 2, this is the reality of the Greenway. These are not actually in Raleigh, just for disclaimer. These are not. Because of privacy, I will not put a camp that we've dealt with, okay? It's the reality of Raleigh. The city has done a great program with it. We're working on it. But we have 99% voluntary compliance. When we talk to these camps, we have services, vetted services that have proven to work. We work with our partners called Acorns. We team up. They become compliant within the city. They remove themselves, and we provide assistance. That's the quickest 10 minutes thing I think I was allowed to give. So, anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
What is the actual speed limit on the Greenway?
10.
Everywhere?
10 everywhere.
It's kind of difficult to maintain if you're coming off a hill on a bicycle.
Voluntary compliance is what we ask for.
Gotcha.
It's like a car, right? Why'd you get me 55 under 30 pounds coming downhill? Right?
It's not like a car. It's not.
It's the responsibility to brake. That's my
I got you.
comment. Okay.
I got you. But the mechanics are different, automobile versus bicycle. My other question is, what hours are the offices on the Greenway?
We have them right now until 10:30 at night,
What time do they start?
6:30.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Are the patrol routes decided by calls, or is it just a rotation? Like, how do you decide where to go each day?
Well, during the pilot program, that's a great question. It's filtered by general complaints. Complaints will come to me through the police department, through Parks and Rec. They all compile and do a mathematical formula. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is how many I have. These are the times. It's all kind of broken down where I know to put officer power at.
Okay, thank you.
Kate?
Yeah, I just wondered, how do you use the mounted officer compared to the Enduro?
Okay, so the mounted, that's a great unit, by the way. I inherited them. They are
I was
wonderful.
hoping there might be a job opening and I could apply.
I will, January 24th, I will, yes. They're slow, meticulous. They are a community element more than anything else, but we will put them in strategic areas where we need a line of sight. We're not going to have a drone come out with us every single time. But our horses are between 15 and 18 and a half hands, which is pretty high, all right? We try to keep them around the waterway. There's a lot of areas because the horse is a ton and you put 2 of them, you really don't want them on the illustrated bridge right there. So they are kind of restricted of where we can operate, but the most populated areas, we like to get them mounted out, and that's predominantly our lakes.
Any other questions? No? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That was a great presentation. All right. Now we have the Big Branch Greenway Connector schematic design presentation.
This should be quick and easy, so don't worry about it. Do you want to drive? All right, well, thank you all for being here. Obviously, the room is packed because this is a really important Greenway connection, a really important conversation. I'm very eager to get all of your feedback and insights as I present. Just an agenda, pretty standard, project background, project description. I'll tell you a lot about the engagement that we did, design recommendations, and then next steps. And you'll have to excuse me, I'm going to belabor this a bit because it really is important to talk about the history and the background and how critical this Greenway is. So this Greenway was first proposed as part of the original Greenway master plan. This came out from a dissertation from an NC State master student, which gave way to exciting insights and kind of innovations throughout the city, and then that was crystallized in the 1976 Greenway master plan. Many iterations afterwards, 89, 2022, as well as the 2020 Midtown plan, all called for this Greenway specifically as a crucial link. And next slide. And importantly, on top of that, in 2022, we actually did a in-depth analysis of all of the greenways that we proposed over the years, and there ended up being 98 altogether, to actually try to assess which one is the most essential, which one is the most urgent, which one do we see the greatest demand across the system. We developed this 9-point criteria, which we're really proud of, and it talked about population density, access, equity, future density, transit, et cetera. The number one highest priority to come out of that was this big branch corridor, just to underline like how important this is and how critical the 500,000 residents of Raleigh who really treasure our Greenway system, the kind of pent-up demand for this trail specifically. And then to kind of zone in specifically on this trail and kind of further pull out why this is such an important trail. The density is specifically, this is probably the fastest growing neighborhood in the city of Raleigh, or one of. And we see 7,000 residents live within a half mile of Big Branch Trail. 3,000 new units are coming in the pipeline, so that means maybe another 6,000, 9,000 folks who will live just a half mile from this trail. Major developments, dense development is coming around here. We often talk about how some folks, want our Greenway to, think about Atlanta, think about the system they have with mixed-use development there. How is it not just leisure, but also active transportation? This trail is what's envisioned as part for that. How do we get people to, not only for leisure, but also transportation to work, to school, to medical appointments, to shopping? A trail that goes through this dense development and neighborhoods in Raleigh is going to be a big part of that. But not only is it through rapidly growing neighborhoods and connecting thousands more Raleigh residents to our kind of gem of a Greenway system, but also connects to major parks, Kiwanis, Eastgate, Cedar Hills, the Crabtree Creek Trail, of course, as well as some major roads with BRT connections coming very soon. And just to kind of talk about the funding situation, so we had the 2022 Parks Bond, $275 million for 24 projects across our park system. The only one that is fully funded, the only new Greenway that's fully funded is this one. So we've really, 73% of Raleigh voters approved that 2022 Parks Bond. We have a $4.5 million allocation, and we hope to go forward with it. And then here, just to kind of give a bigger sense of the general area, obviously I think the folks in this room are most focused on 1B, but this is, in 6 parts, this trail is much more extensive, 3.6 miles, running from Crabtree, much farther up north. And for 1A and 1B and segment 4, there's design and construction dollars. For segment 6, feasibility study, but not design or construction. And then for other sections, it's through partnerships. So the bridge over 440, that'll be funded by our DOT, which is actually very good news on that, which is most recently, a couple weeks ago, more funding was given to them for the design of that bridge. Obviously, because of this big branch corridor, we saw the urgency for completing that long-awaited project, which is great news. Another segment will be done in partnership with a private developer. And then segment 5 also with Raleigh Transportation at Quail Hollow, having an elevated bike path. And then I just want to call out the public outreach. I think Raleigh Parks is very renowned, well-regarded nationally for our fantastic public outreach, but this one really underlines it. 1,600 postcards sent out for phase one, 8,500 in phase two. And of course, in phase two, there was specific focus on Crabtree. Anderson, when it comes to section 1B, was obviously had 3 sections through it in that first one, Anderson Forest, so getting out folks at Hines and Belvin and obviously throughout Raleigh to make sure that everyone knew about this very important greenway that was coming was essential. Did a great job on that. And now to go through some of the sections and kind of where the rounds of voting fell. So for section 1A, and this is an important one, this comes off of the trail specifically. This one, it was a combination of a couple different routes from the survey. The line in black is the one we ultimately recommended. And I think what's important about this route specifically is the Crabtree Trail is on the northern end of the banks of the Crabtree Creek at that point. So coming up in that section is really important because when it crosses over, that would mean we'd have to build a new bridge. We'll talk about these later, but if we brought it up to Anderson or to Barrett or to other areas up there, it would require a bridge across the Crabtree. This is a section where we can just pull right off and with very little vegetation issues. So we were very pleased with this section. Next one. Go next. And then 1B. So this is obviously the one in question, and one we'll talk about extensively today. But from this survey, we actually had 4 options. 3 were along the creek, the stream, and 1 was up Belvin. There was a very mixed vote here. The combination was 49% for the roadside options, 51% for the stream side, divided between those 3 different iterations of those options. Next one. For segment 4, again, pretty clear feedback on this one. 56% preferred the black segment that you can see noted. And we did skip segment 2 and 3. 3 was the one that goes to a private development, and 2 is that bridge that goes over from at the end of Waketown, a bridge over 440. So the next one. The next one. And then segment 6. This is the one that was, this was more of feasibility, so not design and construction, but also after we learned a lot about different right-of-way issues, et cetera, it would kind of clear the pathway we took, which was a combination of a few of these different routes. And you can see it's a combination of the yellow-orange. And then overall, just looking at some of the concerns we heard and some of the feedback we got. Obviously, we had open house. We had an extensive survey. So we got a lot of feedback, which we really valued. Key things that we heard: personal safety, particularly with the roadway crossings, traffic and vehicle speed. Obviously, this is near Six Forks, which is a dangerous road. Close proximity to trail to homes, specifically segment 1B, which we'll talk more about. The Greenway easement is for preservation only, which I'm sure a lot of folks here will talk about. That was a key one. The removal of large trees, ongoing flooding and erosion, and then specifically at the end, which is important, a push to consider different routes: Six Forks and Barrett Drive, Industrial Drive in Waketown, as well as Plantation and Hines, which we did end up including in the next survey. And I just wanted to zone in on those 2 of those, the Six Forks to Barrett, as well as the Industrial Drive. There's lots of different permutations of trails that we could pick, so these are 2 I'll focus on, but there's 42 other pathways that this could potentially be on street, but I think it's indicative to kind of go into these ones specifically. This would, any pathway that goes on the streets is obviously, not necessarily tantamount to a greenway. We're really trying to build, of course, a greenway and not a bike lane, and at that kind of, unfortunately, a dangerous and not very appealing bike lane. This would go 3 road crossings, 3 residential driveway crossings, 8 commercial driveway crossings, so a lot of conflict points, which we really want to avoid, especially given the number of strollers and bikes and cars on this pathway. Keeping it safe is extremely important. And also on top of those clear safety issues, there's also just the circuitousness of it. The big branch alignments that we showed, the Hines one, the Belvin, as well as Anderson Forest ones, were about 0.57 miles, whereas this would be 0.95 miles. as we try to make sure develop a greenway that is used for active transportation and people are trying to get to work fast and trying to get to appointments, it is that directness is really important. Another one that's important, and I'll get to in a bit, is the sidewalks right now are 5 feet. We would have to extend those, as I'll show in a bit, to 10 to 12 feet, which as you expand the sidewalk, you start to go into people's front lots on a lot of those areas, particularly, and side lots through Anderson Forest on 6th Fourth. And then the next one, very similar rundown. 4 road crossings, particularly dangerous road crossings, 15 commercial driveway crossings, including some of the biggest stores and most active parking lots in the city. So, just clear danger from that, as well as the need to expand the sidewalk. And then this one is even more indirect. It goes from 0.57 miles with the 3 alignments that we ultimately voted for versus 1.22. So again, it's a much longer pathway, as well as severely dangerous for a lot of users. And then here, just to kind of zone in on, because this is kind of relevant to whether it's 6 Forks, whether it's industrial, whether it's Barrett, whether it's any other Anderson, any other permutations. The need for the greenway is at least 10 feet width for the pathway, 5 feet on each way. So the existing sidewalk bed is never going to be sufficient for building out a greenway. It's always going to have to come with an expansion, no matter what route you do, or if you build a new trail, of course, hoping for somewhere between 14 to 18 feet. 14 being 10 for the path, 2 for the shoulders, or 14 for the path and 4 total for the shoulders. So particularly for this we expect to be highly trafficked route, and with turns and sometimes some routes are hilly, you really don't want to narrow the width significantly, because people are coming around bends. If the width is narrow, they need that space to get around each other. So the width is important here. And this brings us to the 3 alignments that were brought to a survey. As we detailed earlier, this was a very, very well-populated survey. I think aside from the Greenway Master Plan itself, the most voting we've ever seen in a park survey. So 3 alignment options, expanded outreach to door hangers, yard signage. We really tried to enhance the graphics and visuals so it was very clear what the routes would look like. And then improved alignment descriptions. And then the survey itself, which folks have seen, it's on the public input page. What we saw here was 62% vote for the streamside alignment that won through the backyards of Anderson Forest, 34% for the Plantation Hines, and then 3.5% for Plantation Road. And then if you drill it down, because this has a lot of votes nationally, which is kind of a quirk. Sometimes it's because people are voting from far away. Sometimes it's just the IP address. But if you drill down specifically near 540, inside and near 540 or 440, it's 68% were for the streamside alignment. So it's important. And we can go through these quick, but this was the alignment. This was what we showed in the survey and also during the public outreach and the public meeting. This again. And here we go. So this is what we showed to the public. And then here's a kind of a complete rundown, so we bring things together. This is what was kind of compared, and this is what people saw as part of the survey, seeing the different distances from the front of the homes, from the back of the homes. The slope is obviously important, particularly for safety and for as we have folks going in different directions. Number of large trees to be removed. You can actually see we updated that on the bottom after kind of doing another analysis and doing a walkthrough with the Greenway Committee and the Parks Board and members of the community. We do certainly think that it could be a larger number of trees. It's hard to be very specific about that because we're not even at 30%, at 60% at final design. We'll know the precise route and the number of trees that will be impacted, the critical route zones. At this point, it is a guesstimate, but I think it holds the proportions where we see a bigger tree impact because going through the front yards of Plantation Hines and Plantation Belvin. And then key takeaways from engagement. A lot of what we've talked about before, strong ongoing support for the project. Raleigheites, as we all know, love the Greenway system, and across the board, really high level support for this project, for Big Branch, for the importance of continuing to build out a Greenway system, particularly in high density and fast growing neighborhoods. Streamside alignment was the preferred option according to the survey. That was fairly clear. Impacted properties are concerned about reduced privacy and stormwater impacts. That's something we heard consistently, which is very important, and then user safety concerns due to Greenway crossings and traffic. And just in terms of, and again, we're not going for a vote today or a recommendation today. We're going to discuss these routes as well as other options with the committee. But just to reinforce kind of the work that we do when we build a greenway, greenway construction is, and particularly in these areas that do see significant flooding, which we heard repeatedly. Greenway construction comes with stream bank stabilization, with significant GSI elements, and with the greenway maintenance team of 25 to 30 people to make sure these greenways and post-flooding, they're maintained, they're cleaned up, they're cared for. I just think, I only focus on this because I think there is some conception that because this is a flooded area, we shouldn't introduce a greenway, where there is, I think, the reverse, where by coming into these areas near the stream bank at Big Branch, we are adding stream bank enhancement, we're adding GSI, we're doing better maintenance. So in fact, this is kind of, I think, a very responsible response to flooding throughout this corridor, is kind of bringing in new infrastructure, new improvements, new stabilization. And then similarly, just to bring in the fence, we talked about this in several instances, and this exists throughout the Greenway system, but we've reached out to stormwater and other agency partners, and having a fence that is permeable is permitted, even though it is in a flooding zone, as well as a hedge. So I think a lot of folks will talk about the homes are elevated, so there is worry about being in a fishbowl, but high hedge, high fence is permitted to help out with some of those privacy issues and those security issues. And then this is just kind of the upcoming calendar. So we're going to go back to the Greenway Committee on August 11th after hearing from you all. Hopefully we'll have a clearer sense of direction forward as we kind of hear your feedback and guidance. Parks Board going back on September 11th, coming to you guys again, and then a council presentation October 7th with a hope to complete construction by spring 2028. Often you guys talk about, can we do this sooner? Can we do this quicker? Obviously adhering to this schedule is really important so things don't get pushed back. And please, just opening it up to the floor for discussion.
Okay. I know there's probably a lot of questions, so who wants to go first? Ian?
Thanks, Adam. So a lot of comments at the Greenway meeting. Two questions I've thought of since then. The first is on the Creekside option. Do you have any data from Raleigh Police about the difference in incidents or calls from a Greenway versus a utility easement?
For that specific area or in general?
Anywhere in the city, like from current state to what it could be.
Yeah, well, we can come back with that data. I mean, I believe you guys got a letter this morning in support, but in general, we've seen from national studies as well as studies from NC State and Raleigh that we see crime rates stay the same or go down after a greenway is designed, but we can look more specifically at different easements and greenways and what rates are, so we can come back with that.
And then at the same front on the other options, is there any data on incidents, either two cars or two bicyclists and pedestrians when a greenway is crossing driveways and is street side?
We don't have many greenways that go in front of driveways, but I think just in generally in terms of bike lane construction and that data when it crosses driveways, those are obviously conflict points which lead to accidents, but we can drill in farther, but that is definitely top of mind for us in terms of safety of where you're placing, again, not just bike and pedestrian, but strollers and everyone else, that's top of mind for us.
Yeah, I think that would help with the decision later.
Yeah. And I know we've talked about, this is something that comes up in the Greenway Committee a lot. There are 8 miles of off Greenway, kind of Greenway connectors through sidewalks. This is something that we try to be very intentional about. How do we limit those 8? How do we redesign them? How do we build new greenways? How do we expand the tree canopy? Like, we generally aim to not have on-street or on-sidewalk greenways because of the safety issues, because they are not greenway, proper greenways, and because we're trying to build good, safe, protected transportation, not just dump people on sidewalks.
Okay.
Steve? Oh, sorry, Carrie, go ahead.
So just curious, you mentioned the idea that there would be bank support, new things happening there at the creek. Within the past 50 years, creek existing there, of all the projects, why has something not occurred prior to that? Why wouldn't there have been a supporting structure, especially the new infrastructure was just put in? Mm-hmm. Why a part of this project and not the previous 50 years?
Yeah, I can't speak for Raleigh Water, which I think you're alluding to. We have, obviously we know, massive flooding issues around the city, around this country. Those issues are only getting worse. And there are competing demands when it comes to fortifying neighborhoods, homes, stream banks. So, I mean, that's part of it is just the size of the problem is so expansive compared to the resources we have to bear. This is a fortunate situation where, because we're in there, we can come and bring the resources that are necessary, which we think is a great opportunity.
I think that's part of my question, is since the infrastructure was just done, why wouldn't they have looked at it at that time?
Yeah, again, that'd probably be a good question for Raleigh Water than for us.
Okay. Steve?
Could you go back to the first vote that was on the 1B, that slide?
Please, yeah. Oh, I have to pull out the keyboard. Got it. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the one. What was interesting is the 49% there, and then we moved on to that not being an option.
Mm-hmm. No, we actually kept that as an option. So though that iteration, as well as another on-street option, were kept in the next survey, as well as the stream side one. So the stream side one, as we can see, the vote was split between 49% for the roadside and 51% for those three stream side options. When there was a vote again, which kind of clarified the stream, not just clarified, but we tried to simplify the stream side option, that's when it got 62% of the vote. So but that roadside option was carried to the next iteration.
And in the second iteration, it dropped off?
You can, let's see, go to that one. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, it got 3.5%, a very small number.
Which one was the roadside? That's where I'm confused.
Plantation Belvin.
Okay,
is
that's
the one
the
that got
roadside.
3.5%.
Okay.
So it got 49% the first time, it got 3.5% the second time. Compared to the Hines one was seen as preferable as a roadside option, but the clear majority
I just
was the
got
stream side.
confused because the name changed there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
I get you.
okay.
But these were the three options. You can see the Plantation Belvin, both the stream side and the Plantation Belvin carried over. We did hear from the community engagement that Plantation Hines should be looked at as well, and that's why we brought that in.
Okay. You indicated this is fully funded. So either option was fully funded if the costs were equivalent?
We have, this was a $4.5 million. So that's what's really important in this kind of consideration is, we do want to move forward with one that is, there's lots of options to have a giant bridge that goes over every neighborhood so that no one's impacted. That would cost $30 million. That's so it's $4.5 million is funded. We are going to try to keep that within that budget, or we have to keep it within that budget.
Okay. The one question, just because bike access keeps on coming up, the elevation of Six Forks over the Creekside option. This might be preliminary and it might be looking at design, but the thing, what I did notice in touring the site is that Six Forks is significantly higher than where it's going to land. So in terms of access, is it too early to say, are you thinking it would have to be a ramp, it would be steps, it would be,
Certainly it wouldn't be steps. ADA accessibility is crucial, and there would be some earthworks to flatten that area coming off. So yeah, as you're saying, there's a little bit of a lip coming up Six Forks to the backyards of Anderson Forest. That would be leveled off to make sure that it was a fairly comfortable slope. And compared to, we also see obviously Plantation Hines have significantly are very steep, which is a real concern. So steepness is obviously top of mind for us. It's actually sitting on this Barrett Drive one because Six Forks is not only quite steep, but actually curves as well. This is just kind of reinforcing something we heard about from the community a lot, why we want to get off Six Forks as fast as we can, because that steepness both is challenging for bikes, for walking, for strollers. It is unsafe because you get to high speeds and for ADA accessibility reasons. So yeah, whatever option we go for, going for the flattest route is really is ideal.
Do you anticipate changes to Six Forks once you cross in terms of, one of the things we talked about was the need for widening, and so would that include having to widen the sidewalks on Six Forks in order to get, to head north on Six Forks to the turn?
For the short period, yes. Yeah, for the,
Short period or short distance?
for that short distance, yeah. Whether it's Plantation or Bellevin or to the stream side.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Linda?
Couple of things. Can you? go
Linda,
back?
will you move your microphone closer?
Thank you. Would you go to the picture of the stream side option or the creek side option?
Oh, going the wrong way.
That. And I've shared this with you before, but I wanted to share it with the board. That bothers me a lot. One, you and I talked, and that picture's been photoshopped. I don't know if the pictures for the other two options were photoshopped, but I think that's entirely inappropriate for a city agency to do.
Yeah.
And I think that the image that's there shows no trees, no vegetation, and we know that as Neuse River buffer, we need trees every inch of that we can get.
Yeah.
So I think that's an unfortunate decision. And the other is, in the analysis, there wasn't any discussion about the fact that this is Neuse River buffer, and for 30 feet, there's not supposed to be removal or construction unless it's allowed, specifically permitted. There's no discussion about the difficulty or not of getting that permit, and I don't think the city should be removing vegetation and doing construction, particularly earthworks that are going to go into the floodplain and cause more flooding.
Yeah, and we talked about this. We had an email back and forth. I think this
Yeah.
picture, agreed, is unfortunate because it is not representative of the stream bank restoration. Stream bank restoration, as we've talked about, invasive species that often break down the stream bank will be removed, as we try to do across the city. Local flora will stay, as well as increased plantings in order to fortify the stream bank. The roots of fortify stream banks. So yeah, in terms of what it would look like, it would actually be closer to, we can show, this significant vegetation brought to that space, not the opposite. So we will work on making sure that the visual we have from Kimley Horn is representative of the increased planting we're bringing there, not the opposite.
And then you didn't address my concern about moving into the Neuse River buffer and getting right on the stream bank.
Yeah, I mean, so I think 68% of our greenways is within that buffer, is very close to stream bank. The plan, I referenced that NC State student, and then just in general, the basis of our greenway system is building inside of those sewer easements.
But that was from 1970?
For sure.
And I would hope that we've gotten smarter.
And we have, and I think that's this slide, I think, underlines that. It is not about, we have the allowance to build near the streamway and over sewer easements, but actually it is a responsibility to make sure that we are fortifying those spaces, that where we see flooding, we are bringing GSI, we are bringing new plantings, we are bringing maintenance, and I think that is the kind of the great opportunity of wherever this greenway goes, and in general of our greenway system, bringing new plantings, fortifying stream banks, having GSI, and improving flooding is our mandate, and that's why I think it's very positive to bring a greenway here.
And has there been an analysis of how often this floods, and what's the sort of maintenance cost of dealing with frequently flooded greenways?
We work really closely with stormwater, and as we actually get into design, they're closely connected to designing the stream bank restoration, the GSI elements. I mean, they will be mostly leading the way on that. So yeah, that would be very much baked in, and the value of having stormwater be such a close partner. Obviously, we work with them at Smoky Hollow was an incredible project, at Rocky Branch and Dix, but really across the entire city. Is such a close partnership, and we bring in GSI elements to every single one of our bond projects. That was a mandate that we brought in, and this one is no different. So yeah, they would be leading the way to make sure what we are building is an improvement over existing conditions, and that's what we think is a really positive responsibility, but also opportunity.
All right. Other questions for Adam? Stephen?
Hey there. Thank you, Adam, again for the presentation. I know that on Friday, I guess last week, we talked about possibly the parking lot addition? And so in the next 2 months, I guess, is there any consideration possibly adding I guess, that advised one? I know you had the green initial back then, but kind of one that's on that route again, maybe adding up more options on the stream side.
Yeah, I think this was the bringing back the green option on the stream bank or some permutation of that. Honestly, this is what we're here for. We want to hear your guys' thoughts, your guys' recommendations, what things we need to drill into. So, I mean, that's something we want to hear back from at this table.
Thank you.
Other questions? Bob?
A week ago tonight, the route that follows the stream, in a period of about 10 minutes, came out of its banks about 2 feet deep into the backyards. Not only is that potentially catastrophic, are you saying that the improvements you're proposing can prevent that from happening again?
Nothing, not nothing, but preventing is because of the storms we are seeing and the increased issues we're seeing with flooding around our city. Prevention is not, mitigation is what we are working on and absolutely will mitigate.
Well, how would you propose to mitigate that situation, which was not a 100-year rainfall, it was about a 20-minute rainfall, and prevent a horrible thing from happening? I say this in all kindness, I would not be comfortable with my children playing in those backyards if I thought it was going to rain, and that you have to be very careful. But seeing that happen and thinking about what happened in Texas is a difficult thought to have in your head. And I would ask, changing the subject here, on the north and south ends of this, that will be part of the project. Why couldn't you put 5-foot sidewalks on both sides of the street throughout the entire Heinz plantation and call it done?
So it's street width. In terms of, we'll get back to this, and this is actually an important thing for our analysis, but in terms of fire trucks and sanitation trucks, it's already a pretty narrow road. When we get to Quail Hollow,
It's behind the curb. The city already has the right-of-way. You can look at where the service poles are. You and I spoke about that. We can read the poles and tell whose they are. But the poles in many subdivisions are sitting significantly behind, because when the houses were built, there was some thought of sidewalks and other things, and trees grow and people forget about sidewalks. But the neighborhoods that we saw, there's at least 8 to 10 feet. And I'm assuming a sidewalk would have at least 3 feet of spacing from the curb, and maybe 5, maybe 6 feet, depending upon what you could throw in there.
yeah,
But if you went with 5-foot sidewalks on both sides of the street within the land that the city already owns, I don't think the people would be happy losing many of the trees they've loved and planted over the years. But it would be a sidewalk, and you'd have 5 feet on one side and 5 feet on the other side. And yes, you can ride bicycles on sidewalks. That's where children learn to ride their bikes.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was certainly, one of the options that was put was some permutation of that. It would be tree loss and utility relocation on both sides rather than one, as well as sidewalks on both sides, or excuse me, driveways on both sides. But yeah, that is something to consider. Appreciate
Well,
that.
I look at that, and I'm always interested in survey results, given that I spent too many years looking at dissertation results and trying to define, because it would not surprise me if some of the data wasn't aligned with population densities of the certain areas that are involved. Because if you send out the surveys, you're going to get more surveys where there are more people. But also, if they don't like something in their own yard, we're all that way.
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously, I think that's certainly representative of the process. But yeah, we did, it was 1,628 participants is significant feedback. We're very proud to have kind of driven that type of engagement. But yeah.
I mean, personally, I find that interesting, but that's about it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
understood.
All right. Other questions for Adam? Kate?
First of all, I wanted to say that I really understand why this Greenway ranks number one as a priority in terms of a greenway that could really make a big difference in the city. The location is just extraordinary, so I understand that. I really want to thank the neighbors for all the time that they've given in sharing sharing information about this. And it really is clear that these three options have really major issues of concern. And so I really appreciate the staff's willingness to really dive into some other options that we've talked about and neighbors have sent us or whatever. So I'm glad for the slowing down of that. So I'm looking forward to seeing those new options. And so I don't have any specific questions about what you've shown us, but one thing I did want to ask is that when I think about that this Greenway has been a proposal since 1976, clearly an awful lot of the development that's happened in that area has happened in that time. So I sure wish that there had been a Greenway alignment that had been set aside at the time back in 1976. Is that happening now? Is it going to be easier to do this in the future? Is the city setting aside as redevelopment happens? And is that also happening in the industrial drive area? Yeah. Which in reading the plan for that area, it seems like that's envisioned as a whole new developed area for the city. So what is the process that the city uses?
I think the answer is yes and no. Yes, for the set aside in terms of that's what Greenway easements, that's why they're created and that's why they're part of rezonings and new site plans and along our stream banks. So that is what enables a lot of construction. It's not going to enable all construction. In any project, there's going to be building outside of easements or city-owned land, but yes, the easements is part of that long-term planning, and we build them along our stream banks. That's where we get those easements. So that's the answer is yes, there's a set aside. On the other side, as we build through dense areas that are pent up and there's a strong demand for greenways and where people are asking for this infrastructure and this great greenway system to be connected to them, there are no more easy greenways left. There's never been an easy greenway, but now it's even harder. We want to bring the greenway system to areas of high density and mixed use. Areas of high density and mixed use means there's not much space available. So there are no easy decisions left. There are no easy greenways left. But I think the 500,000 people of Raleigh really want us to expand our greenway system. So it's incumbent upon us to find the best, the safest, the most direct route.
All right. Kara?
Thank you, Adam, for this presentation so far. I have a quick question. I have a couple of questions. How much of our budget has already been spent on design?
Do we have Kelly or Dale for that? 285,000.
Okay. Looking at the other options, I know we talked about that parking lot option, and we were pretty interested in that. Has there been any going back and looking at this Six Forks project that was shelved, if that hasn't, like the widening of the lanes and everything, if that has an impact on anything that we were planning? I don't know that it would, but it's the same area, and it just got canceled by the city council, so.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest fallout of that was that more funding was brought for the bridge, which is fantastic news and is going to make this Greenway connection really, come true. So that was good news. In terms of how it impacts Six Forks, no. And if we have to widen sidewalks, we wouldn't be going into the roadbed. We would be going farther into properties, and some of those homes are very close to those sidewalks. But even more beyond that, I think everyone in this room agrees that Six Forks, because of how steep it is, and because of that turn, is just a dangerous road to be on. So we're aiming to get off of it as quickly as possible.
Okay. Do we know when that bridge is going to be built?
So it is, moving to a full 30% design. This project, the answer will help speed it up. Because by having a Greenway connection to that bridge, that allows it to score higher on federal grants and state grants, which is a boon. So the answer is sooner because of this project, but a final construction date I don't have.
Okay. I think the community engagement aspect is great. I'm always so happy to hear about what we're going out there and talking to people, and having that much engagement is incredible. I do have to agree with Linda that the pictures are a little bit deceiving, particularly for the stream side option. When I was looking at them before we went out there, that looks like the best option, but I don't necessarily think it is the best option. The plantation side looked a little crazy in the pictures, and it looked pretty crazy in person too. So that came across a little bit more clearly than the stream side.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's why we did the walk as well. And I'm glad so many people participated in that. It is so important. Getting one snapshot photo is not going to do justice to the lived experience of going down those routes. So seeing those different routes and coming out is really important. So appreciate all of you guys making time to do that.
I think that's, when we're looking at, it says 68% chose stream side alignment. That seems like really big, right? But then if we know that the picture and the in-person thing is different, then that it's hard to take that as seriously as when you just look at it on paper.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, before the poll was given, were people that were voting in the poll looking at those pictures, or they were just?
They were.
They were,
and
okay.
I think to your point, Kara, like when you actually go out there, Belvin Plantation look worse than the photos. So did the stream side. Like when you live the experience, it might be different. I think people hopefully understand that, but yes, they did see the photos.
Okay. Jeff?
Thank you for your presentation today and on Monday. I would agree with Karen and Stephen, and Kate said it extremely well, and I've had the conversation with a few others in here. I would encourage looking at the parking lot side, and on top of that, some creative solutions to keep it on the east side of the trail rather than have those two bridges.
Yeah, okay. That's really good feedback.
All right, Steve?
Yeah, the one thing I noticed, I believe one of the earlier options did go through the commercial property on the other side, and I'm not sure why that one went away, but the one thing I did notice is that at least it did not impact as close to the properties as others did. So I think that was one of the things that popped up, and I agree with the imagery changed when you got there. I mean, it was a pretty dramatic change. So that's one of the things I'd encourage. I think the interesting part here is that both communities have obviously come out and expressed strongly the difficulties they have with both options. So I think that's something we need to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And to your question of why that went away, partially was because of two bridges. As we said, we only have $4.5 million for this project, so building two bridges is expensive. There's also real choke points when it comes to the commercial property, as well as one property at the very end on the east side. But we can absolutely go back and look at that. We appreciate that suggestion.
Ian?
And on section 1A, are there the same risks of flooding? Like I'm trying to consider if the creekside option on 1B would become a choke point during high rain, or if 1A would flood anyways.
The entire, I mean, obviously, it's connecting to Crabtree, which floods as well. I mean, this is a reality of our entire Greenway system. But no, it actually gets off of, close to the creek at that point. It goes on to Selby.
So it would also, if 1B was flooded, 1A would flood? That's just,
Yeah.
okay.
Other questions? Carrie?
Since you mentioned the fact that things have flooded already, how often do we have to go back and repair greenways when they flood? If this is an expectation that the stream side will flood more consistently versus road, just asking for data.
Yeah.
How much does it cost? How often we have to go back and do things?
Yeah, so that's why we have a 30-person Greenway team, is to maintain this. This is, as I said, the Greenway is built within sewer easements, which are connected to creeks. Most of our system is built along creekside, which is why we've developed a really expansive Greenway maintenance team who is extremely assiduous in coming and making repairs and clearing paths after flooding events. And I think we have now, luckily, through our partnership with Stormwater, taken that up even another notch, which is designing our greenways near streams to be even more fortified with GSI and with stream bank restoration. And the truth is, we have every interest in making our greenways as fortified as possible. Because of the expenses of maintenance, because we don't want to see lots of closures because we don't want to see them wear away. So it's in the interest for us to design greenways, which are the most fortified through stream bank restoration through GSI.
It is very clear by the conversation we had while we were out there walking that you care about what's going on, so please don't take it any other way.
No,
Just
please.
the insight for me to understand, how many times do you have to go back and repair greenways? What's the average lifespan, especially in areas, I don't know which areas typically flood. Do we have any idea of, is this going to have to go back every 2 to 3 years to replace something, to fix things? Has that been factored into the cost?
Yeah, I mean, it could even be worth kind of a maintenance team conversation, but yeah, we're very pointed about.
We can pull some high-level data for you. Even when it doesn't rain, our creeks flood. So if you think about when they do a dam release, the entire Noose corridor floods, and it didn't even rain. And I think Adam's point is, over 50 years, we've figured out better how to be more resilient. But the fact of the matter is, it is a greenway designed in the flood area. That's the philosophy of our system.
Just looking for insight to know on average.
We can share some of that data with you. Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Linda.
You keep using the phrase GSI, and I translate it,
Oh,
please.
sorry, yeah, stormwater infrastructure, green stormwater infrastructure.
Green storm, thank you.
Gray infrastructure is our sewers and other catchments. Green infrastructure are our swales and channeling and other ways that we can manage the water rather than have it kind of flood with abandon in unsafe ways. So GSI introduced near trails, helps to mitigate damage and also just mitigate flooding more generally.
Thank you.
Do we have some other questions on this side? No? More questions? Adam, I had one. One of the routes that I didn't see covered, and we keep talking about flooding in the backyards, and we talk about crossing the commercial driveways on the plantation side. Was any thought given to doing a sharrow on any of these roads and just letting pedestrian traffic, walkers and runners stay on the sidewalk, bicycle traffic share the road on one of these sides, either Plantation or Anderson, and then doing like a route between houses?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would increase the lack of safety, unfortunately. Sharrows, as we've seen from kind of mucked head the design standards at the federal level, have become discouraged. People like protected bike lanes. So if we we're going to do a bike lane, we want it to be protected. At the end of the day, it kind of goes back to what I said, the Greenway system is trying to build, greenways, not bad bike lanes. We have, unfortunately, a lot of bad bike lanes and sharrows around the city, which we're trying to, I think RDOT is doing a great job of trying to correct and try to fortify. So, our mandate here is to build a greenway and not unsafe bike pathways, and that's what we're trying to do. But yeah, that's definitely something that is an alternative, just not what we're trying to look for in this project.
Okay. Any other questions for Adam? Okay, Adam, thank you for the time. I'll just echo what Carrie said. We know that you guys spent a lot of time on this and appreciate the effort that you guys are doing to find the best route.
Yeah, and thank you so much again for visiting last week and then also for the very thoughtful questions. Really appreciate it.
Yep, 100%. All right, next on the agenda is our public comment section for Big Branch Greenway Connector. We've got a number of folks, and we had some folks call in with some comments as well. So I'm actually going to get us started by reading this comment from one of the residents. This is George Jeter of 3110 Plantation Road in Raleigh. I cannot attend this month's meeting, but I do have an additional comment about the proposed Big Branch Connector project that has not come up in the previous meetings, nor is it anticipated in the city's study. Of the three options, namely, it is extremely likely that sometime in the near future there will be up to 6 new driveway cuts on Hines Plantation that would go directly over the proposed Greenway path. The reason is that Crabtree Heights was once a 1950s ranch-style neighborhood, but now a growing number of old houses with big, roomy yards, or being routinely converted from one house to 2 houses on the same lot. There are 3 original house big yard combos left on Hines, and the same for Plantation. So the Hines Plantation option is most likely to have 6 more houses added whenever longtime owners sell. It is almost standard operating procedure for new owners to tear down the original houses and replace them with 2 new houses on the lots in our neighborhood. Up to 6 new driveways would be roughly 50% increase and pose even more danger to anyone traveling through those yards and over those driveways. There are 1 to 3 original houses in big lots on Belvin, depending on the exact way the proposed greenway would attach, but it's safe to say 1 or 3 more driveways will eventually be intersecting with any greenway on Belvin Plantation option. It is reckless not to consider these new driveways in any new long-term planning. They are almost certain to come to the neighborhood at some point, probably in the next few years. Meanwhile, the creekside option cannot be used for any higher purpose than a greenway given the sewer and creek, so either that flat, straight, level length of land with no driveways is a reasonable place for a greenway connector, or it remains exactly as it is for all time, a kind of unicorn of uncrossed land in the middle of Raleigh. If the city feels the creekside option is not suitable, then there is no other safe and reasonable place for a greenway connector in this entire 3-option zone. It is really just that simple. Thank you. All right. That is George's statement. We didn't have anybody else call in with comments, so I'm going to run down this public comment list. If I butcher your name, apologies. I used to work at Starbucks. First, we have Caroline Valand. And just a reminder, each of you have 3 minutes to speak, and if you come over here, just make sure you're speaking into the microphone.
Can I push this in? Anytime? Hi, I'm Caroline Valland, and I am a homeowner on Hines Drive. Thanks so much for patiently listening to everybody. I know you'll hear lots from my partners over in Crabtree Heights, as well as from our neighbors, and I appreciate you taking into consideration our comments. I love the Raleigh Greenway. I use it regularly. I'm a big fan. And I just want to talk about what we think about when we think about the Greenway. I think, first of all, we think of a path that's green, shady, follows a natural corridor, and is most often quiet and away from traffic. There's online, I did some research, there's an online flyer that says it's, quote, a network of linear parks located along rivers, creeks, and streams. The City of Raleigh's website describes the Greenway as a vibrant network of public trails and open spaces, perfect, your word, perfect for walking, cycling, and using a wheelchair or a scooter. So this is kind of how we all have envisioned it. This is how we describe it. This is how we market it. This is why it's such a valuable asset for the city. You've got 3 options in front of you, and 2 of those options don't align with that vision. Those 2 options are the Plantation Belvin option and the Plantation Hines option. We talked about quiet and in nature, but those 2 options kind of cut through a daycare parking lot or a business park, condominium business park. They go through the middle of a neighborhood, they cross streets, and they go through, as we've talked about, front yards. It's funny to me that I'm not NIMBY, I'm NIMFY, not in my front yard. At times, the path is as little as 15 feet from homes. And I just want to reiterate again that nowhere else in the Greenway is there a path that is as close as 15 feet from a home. When we talked about the vision, we talked about what's perfect for walking and cycling or using a wheelchair. The 2 options that don't align with the vision cross traffic multiple times, including in these 2 options 8 to 10 driveways, and as Mr. Jeter referenced, possibly more. Homeowners are going to regularly be backing up their cars where people are crossing with strollers, with scooters. I have an 8-year-old daughter. That would be something, and when I walk, she rides her scooter. That would be of concern to me, kind of crossing that. And then we also talked about green and a little bit shady. 2 of the options lead to the death of trees. 5 to 10 large trees would be removed. There are also plantings, bushes, and other landscaping that would be torn out. A retaining wall would have to be built. You're removing the green from Greenway if you select these 2 options. All I ask is you consider these realities when contemplating these choices. I realize there's no easy options left. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Peter DeHaven.
Good evening. My name is Pete DeHaven. I live in the Crabtree Heights neighborhood. I want to convey my thanks to the leadership of the effort, the Parks and Rec, the committee, and the board for the work that you all do for this very structured and well-sequenced series of interactions that we have. I believe in the Greenway as an important city amenity, When Leslie and I moved to Raleigh with our boys 9 years ago from a much larger city, we were quickly impressed by the investment made by the city in its recreational resources, namely the many parks in the Greenway network. As our boys have grown, we have frequently made use of the Crabtree Creek Greenway. We benefit not only from the fresh air and exercise that we get, but also from its relative safety, being mostly flat and uninterrupted by roads. We appreciate the city's leadership in this area and know that you also have a difficult job with this. Balancing the competing needs of multiple stakeholders is not easy. You laid out a multi-year and even multi-decade strategic plan for the Greenway development and followed a structured process to develop priorities, evaluate alternatives, communicate them, and solicit feedback. Echoing many of my neighbors whom you're hearing this evening, I would like to emphasize that I support the Greenway and your long-term development efforts for it, but I also must register significant concerns with the two alternatives that would traverse Crabtree Heights, the Plantation Belvin and Plantation Hines options. My concerns are these. Safety. This starts with questions of topography. Traversing Crabtree Heights for either route would require ascent of a significant upslope to the center of the neighborhood, then potentially followed ultimately by a similar downslope to reconnect with the Big Branch vicinity. This presents several safety concerns. Recreators, including young children on bicycles, could lose control and injure themselves in areas with considerable traffic, such as where the neighborhood connects with Six Forks Road. Additionally, the steep topography of several residents' front yards would require considerable engineering lateral grading of a pathway through the front yards, which in addition to being disruptive to residents would increase safety concerns for the Greenway users. The driveway and road crossings. The Crabtree Heights options would require numerous road crossings of residents' driveways, commercial driveways, and roads, all of which increase the potential for collisions between Greenway users and residents, parents of daycare students, and office workers. These safety concerns are compounded by the topography concerns I noted a minute ago. Then the question of Greenway character. As I noted earlier, we have valued the relative peace and quiet of stretches of the Greenway, such as that of Crabtree Creek. Extending the Greenway through Crabtree Heights would upend that character. Running, walking, bicycling, or scooting through a densely built neighborhood through residents' front and side yards with repetitive crossings of driveways and streets would not afford the Greenway experience that we know and love. I hope that these perspectives are helpful. I wish the project leadership and review teams the best of luck as they move through this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeHaven. Next, we have Kat Moncall.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Kat Monsall, and I live in the Crabtree Heights subdivision. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm here to strongly encourage support for the Creekside or Streamside route for the Greenway connection, a route that is safer, less disruptive, and far more aligned with what residents and Greenway users want. The alternative, routing the Greenway through Crabtree Heights, raises serious safety and cost concerns. Greenway users would be forced to cross 10 to 12 residential driveways, putting them in real danger. Visibility is poor throughout the neighborhood, and there are no posted speed limit signs, despite ongoing speeding issues. These risks are especially high as drivers are exiting or entering their driveways when reaction time is limited and sight lines are obstructed. The route also runs within 15 feet of front doors, directly through front yards, eliminating privacy and disrupting daily life. In contrast, the Creekside route stays at least 50 feet from homes, preserving peace and a true natural experience. Construction through Crabtree Heights would require cutting down a large number of mature trees, permanently altering the landscape, and regrading steep front yard slopes, a costly process that puts users in harm's way, especially as drivers maneuver in and out of their driveways. On top of all this, relocating utilities will add a major cost burden to taxpayers. And perhaps most telling of all, 63% of public survey respondents chose the Creekside option over both Crabtree Heights front yard routes. They chose a true Greenway feel and said no to risking their lives on an unsafe path. Let's listen to the data, protect the public, and preserve what makes our Greenway special. Let's choose the Creekside option. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Monsall. Next up, we have Leslie DeHaven.
Good evening. My name is Leslie DeHaven, and I'm a resident of Crabtree Heights. It's nice to be back here with you and see some familiar faces again. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us and let us voice our concerns. I'm here again today because I'm extremely concerned about the two proposed Greenway alternatives for Segment 1B of the Big Branch Greenway that are proposed for my neighborhood. As I've shared with board members and Parks and Rec staff on tours, both of these options would put safety of Greenway users at risk. I've shared in this meeting before and on these tours and in my other communications that there are many residential driveways that each of the two proposed options would cross. Some of these driveways have limited visibility already as they currently exist, and that visibility would be reduced as the size and slope of the driveways would be dramatically different, making each even harder for residents to see, and it would be hard to see Greenway users on scooters and bicycles as they zoom along the Greenway, because they do zoom. As the commercial driveways get extremely busy at certain times of day, those are even more dangerous, especially since they are on the slope down towards Six Forks. Speaking of the slope, both options have a noticeable slope. Belvin is much steeper than Hines, and both routes would have to contend with the slope down from Plantation towards Six Forks, which is very busy. A slope on Hines has nothing to sneeze at because as children ride down that hill, they often are riding their bikes and they often forget to stop at the stop sign, right near where the crosswalk across Plantation Road would be. My own son did this not even a year ago and almost got hit. And it was very scary. Finally, as a Greenway user, I would like my Greenway to be a Greenway. As the presentation that Adam gave earlier showed, the two options in Crabtree Heights would take down a significant number of trees and more than originally estimated. The removal of these trees and other plants would make the Greenway less green. In addition, the Greenway would be very close to people's homes, 15 feet for the Belvin option or 20 feet at the closest for the Hines option, which doesn't feel much like green space either. I say all of this as someone who uses the Greenway and looks forward to a Greenway that will allow me to easily connect to other parks, restaurants, and other places. The fact that once the Big Branch connector is complete, it will do the same for over 7,000 residents from all walks of life is exciting. And that number will continue to grow as development in the area continues. And this Greenway will help property owners nearby, as repeated studies have shown that proximity to a Greenway has improved home values. I just want to make sure that whatever option is chosen, that Greenway users are safe. And Greenway users are me, my family, and a lot of other residents of Raleigh. Thank you so much for your time and consideration and the time and thought that you're putting into this whole process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. DeHaven. Next, we have Grant Livengood.
I knew you were going to say living good. It's actually live.
I was going to say live and good, and I said that can't be it.
You can say it. Members of the board, thank you for the time tonight. I'm Grant Livengood. I live at 3115 Belvin Drive. Like everyone in here, I think I'm not opposed to connectivity. I agree that the Greenway system in Raleigh does it in a really great fashion. I think I'm a civil engineer by trade, so we deal with these kinds of things all the time. And so I think it's the placement of the Greenway that we're here to talk about tonight. One thing I'll read is actually in the Capital Area Greenway Planning and Design Guideline, which is section 1.4, and it's a section about safety. And it says the pedestrian and bicycling environment connecting to the network should also be safe. Safety means minimal conflicts and external factors such as user types, user volumes, vehicular traffic, and protruding architectural elements. I think we've shown tonight that the Belvin and Hines are in conflict with that particular safety. It also goes on to talk about accessibility. As an engineer, we deal with ADA compliance all the time. And as an engineer, I got online and sort of went to IMAPS and USGA and looked at the gradients on the Plantation and the Belvin. On Plantation, those grades at the beginning of Plantation, on average, are around 6 to 8% gradient. On Belvin, they go between 12 and 14%. So with regards to ADA compliance, at 5%, I think they allow for trails up to 8% for a certain period of time. We sort of in a conflict with that gradient elevation there. Also cross slopes, so we're talking about 2% cross slope from an ADA perspective. A lot of these front lots, if you're building those cross slopes, by the time you widen the road and put the greenway in and a cross slope, as some of the members said, you're going to be impacting those lots without having to do a retaining wall. You'll be impacting those lots even more. So obviously, I think my opinion to not build that greenway in the Belvin or Hines section is obvious. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Livengood. Next, we have Megan Barnard.
Hello, my name is Megan Bernard. I'm also a Crabtree Height neighbor, and I'm sorry, I'm always too quiet. I live on Belvin Drive, next to Mr. Livengood. We could go over this all day long. It's called a greenway. I don't think there's really anything else to say. It's a greenway. It's not a driveway over business driveway way. It needs to be a greenway. A couple things. I had something planned, but I'm going on a totally different route now because of some questions that came up by the advisory board. One thing that really struck me, I switched gears real quick, is one of the members, Mr. Etheridge, you mentioned a little while ago, what's the speed limit? 10 miles per hour. That's pretty hard to maintain. Yes, it is. What if that's 10 miles per hour going down our street where we're backing out of our cars? For me, specifically, I drive an SUV that I have no business needing to drive, and I'm backing out with 3 children, small children, loud children, in my back seat, and I'm supposed to back out and then also be aware of what I could be hitting. I hit my trash cans every Thursday, to be honest, and I'm not proud of it, but that's the truth. These things don't come up on the stream side. You're not going over any driveways. The other thing that keeps coming up is the flooding being an issue. It's on the main Greenway page. The intent was to help preserve the stream side, the area around the stream side since the 70s. So you can keep going on and on about flooding, but that's the purpose. It's going to help you. It's going to help you if you're in that location. The other thing is the east side of the creek floods as well. So, you want to get into questions about the parking lot and going on the east side, you're going to have to cut over to the west side anyways. We both flood. Everybody floods. That's just what it is. We moved in knowing that was going to be an issue. We have flood insurance. Both sides have flood insurance. Also, we have easements. We moved in knowing there was an easement, that it could be in the backyard, not my driveway, not where kids are playing. Another thing is we have multiple small children in our neighborhood. And I know it's about the safety of the Greenway users, but we have 12 children under 5 on our street alone. And you're trying to tell me that a 3 and a 4-year-old don't, stay out of the Greenway, don't get run over, that they understand that? These kids play back and forth across the street. I'm just safety on both sides. That's all thank you very much.
Thanks, Ms. Bernard. Next, we have Bob Metz.
I'm Bob Metz. I live on Plantation Road, and my wife and I have lived here for 32 years. I have been biking on the Greenway for over 25 years, and I have developed a deep appreciation for the Greenway, its beauty, and safety. The Greenway trails are flat and safe for bikers, walkers, and runners without any traffic disruption. Many homes in our neighborhood have driveways that residents back out of, creating potential hazards for everyone using the Greenway. I know you've heard that multiple times today. Like many neighbors, we have deliveries now, along with local traffic who often overlook our speed signs. I believe that a greenway through our neighborhood would not only be unsafe, but would also fail to capture the true essence of what a greenway should be. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Metz. Next, we have Philip Cowan.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Philip Cowan. I live on Plantation Road. Excuse me. I want to speak with y'all just briefly about the concerns I have about the Greenway coming through Plantation. One of them is that it seems to be more of a sidewalk than a Greenway. My family lives there. We enjoy using the Greenway. I have young children who learn to ride their bike on the sidewalks. But we use the Greenway because it's a safer option. The Greenway's across the street now. I enjoy going with them on their bikes there. I have a lot of concern about the safety of bikers, scooter people, pedestrians coming by our driveway. We have issues with it now, and there's very limited use on Plantation. So opening that up to thousands of people who are going to cross my driveway daily, it's inevitable in our neighborhood that there's going to be some interaction with these pedestrians or bicyclists in a vehicle. It's an extreme safety concern, and I don't think that's what the Greenway was meant for. So I'd ask that y'all take that into consideration when you're considering the Belvin, Plantation, and Hines options. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Next, we have Spencer Harrell.
Thank you. I'm a resident of Crabtree Heights, and I've also had the privilege of living in Anderson Forest for 20 years, 15 years ago or so. And I think I see some people here who've seen some unbelievable flooding back early in the early 2000s, 90, where we literally didn't know whether we were going to get out of our house or not back during Fran and Floyd. So that being said, y'all have been put in a very inevitable position. You are trying to put a square peg in a round hole. I've sat back and listened. I've looked at all the data that is here. And the answer is, it appears the city has spent $285,000 and not even considered the most viable plans. They looked at the easiest ones. And I think that's pretty evident to everyone. We live in an area of the city where I have to cross Six Forks Road if I want to go to the Greenway. It's pretty much like taking your life in your own hands. Lord knows I'd hate to think about it if I had a child. I had young children when I lived in Anderson Forest. We would not allow them to cross it. We would drive across it and get on the Greenway over there by the bridge. That's not changed, and it's only gotten worse. So the correct answer is, of the three options, which is the best? The answer is none of them are really acceptable. However, we've been put in the position of it's one of the three options. I want to take emotion out of it because we have data. Data doesn't lie. It can be manipulated, and you can use it whichever way you want to. We all have safety concerns. We all have concern about our privacy in our backyard or our front yard, and they're very, very valid concerns. So I just ask that you look at the data. Everybody has a personal number. I was at the meeting the other day. I heard the number was 15 strides from my back deck to the Greenway. Well, somebody went and marked my driveway. I checked it out. My personal number is 8. I have 8 strides to where my car, from the front of my garage to where the Greenway is going to be. That's pretty close. Another neighbor has a personal number of 5 strides or 15 foot. I think that's really unacceptable. A Greenway should go around a neighborhood. It should not go through a neighborhood. A Greenway should be green and not merely a glorified sidewalk. And a Greenway should not destroy the very essence of any neighborhood, our neighborhood, their neighborhood. I would suggest that accept the premise that we're trying to put a square peg in a round hole, and we have not been able to do it, nor do we probably have the money to do it correctly, and go back and see if we can get more for the $285,000 that has been spent to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrell. Next, we have Daniel McGlamany. Sorry, I know I butchered that.
Close enough. Hello, Daniel McGlamry at 3101 Hines Drive in the Crabtree Heights neighborhood. First off, really excited about the Greenway connection. I mean, we use the Greenway all the time. I have a 10 and 8-year-old. They've grown up learning to ride their bikes. One thing I would say is if you're looking at Belvin, you should go out there and look at Belvin Drive, because the kids work up to get gears on their bikes to ride up Belvin Drive, because you pedal up that one time and you need a break. Plantation up from Six Forks is not much different. And I would just say, to his point, the sections of the Greenway that are the most dangerous when you're taking kids, I mean, I just took my son and 3 of his friends for his birthday to the art museum. We can ride on the Greenway the whole way. It's awesome. The most dangerous part of that is going to Laster Mill, crossing over, having to stay on Laster Mill, go by Route, go by Hertford, go by Allegheny, get back on the Greenway. And it's the most dangerous because you have 4 kids on bikes and you're crossing 25 driveways. And there's plans to correct that at Laster Falls and try to go up by the creek and cross over and stay in the sewer easement and make it a true Greenway. So I'm not sure why we would take things that we already see as an issue, where we're trying to spend city money to correct those issues, and build the exact same thing brand new in a neighborhood where we know it's not going to work, where we know it's going to be a safety concern, where we know it's going to be an issue down the road. And just to the flood, I'm a civil engineer as well, like Grant, spent my life doing hydrology and stuff like that. For the flooding issues, I mean, putting the Greenway, the 10-foot path in the sewer easement is not going to cause a flooding concern. I mean, there's a huge drainage area upstream from that, from Millbrook, and that creek, Big Branch Creek, accepts a massive drainage area. And the, you know, little bit of Greenway impervious area you're adding, I mean, that's like, you know, a grain of sand. Like, that's a very tiny amount of impervious. So the flooding is going to happen whether you have the Greenway there or not. And when you get the Greenway coming in, they do all the stream restoration, they do all the planting, and they do the stuff that's going to help with the flooding, and more importantly, to stop the erosion of the streams, which causes, you know, the flooding to be worse. But that's all I have. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next, we have Mike Porvaznik. All right.
Good evening, board. I'm Mike Pervoznik. I'm the advocacy chair with Oaks and Spokes. The board should have received a letter of support for the Big Branch Greenway from Oaks and Spokes earlier today. As everyone in the room, Oaks and Spokes loves the Greenway. A lot of people here tonight are speaking about recreation on the Greenway, but we advocate more for a transit-oriented design to our Greenway. I appreciate staff mentioning the shorter distances that this Greenway would allow people to travel to work, to school, to medical appointments. I'm a resident of North Raleigh. This Greenway connection is critical to me getting downtown safely. Six Forks is a hazard, but more users being in the area will by nature traffic calm that area. I know it seems a little extreme right now, but as we get a safer crossing, more users out there, people will be used to it. You know, the whole corridor will be calmed. We don't support any one option, but the Greenway stream side, the city has an easement. It's been there, it's been platted. I wrote all my notes on a plat of the area. Noose buffer rules, greenways are allowable in noose buffer. It's an allowable construction. It'll help with flooding mitigation. So if I were to put my own personal spin on it, we would support the stream side alignment as well. Just with public engagement, it's all great. These concerns are fantastic and good to go into design. But as we saw with the Six Forks project, public engagement could cause a project to stall and be canceled. The funding is there now. I encourage the board to make a strong recommendation for an option to council in a timely fashion so this Greenway can be constructed and not canceled like the Six Forks plan. And with my last minute, I'll read a little bit from the letter of support from Oaks and Spokes. Greenways are citywide infrastructure. While opinions of neighbors adjacent to Greenway projects are important, it's important to take into context the entire city's opinion. The city should make sure the public is informed and has a chance to participate, but not let the loudest voices prevent progress. especially progress that reflects the city's new strategic plan that directly supports environmental sustainability and multimodal connectivity. The Big Branch Greenway connector has been part of Raleigh vision for over 50 years, as you have seen. Please follow through on this vision. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Provoznik. Next up, we have Elizabeth Scott.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Scott. I live in Anderson Forest. My husband and I live in Anderson Forest. The heavily photoshopped photo is of our backyards. And seeing that photo, you would not know that you would have to take 5 maples down that my husband planted 23 years ago. Let's be clear. The 1976 Capital Area Greenway Plan did not propose or feature a Big Branch Greenway connector trail through Anderson Forest or the property it sits on. A decade later, city leaders did not see the need for a Greenway trail through Anderson Forest either. In December 1986, the developer of Anderson Forest dedicated and the city council accepted a 50-foot easement at the rear of Anderson Forest lots 1 through 9, but it was for scenic preservation purposes only. This easement expressly prohibits the construction of a Greenway trail through Anderson Forest lots 1 through 9. The easement specifically states there shall be no building of roads, sidewalks, paths, or trails from or upon the scenic Greenway easement property. These words are not ambiguous. The city has never possessed an easement to build a Greenway through Anderson Forest backyards. By accepting this easement, the city promised it would not build a Greenway trail through Anderson Forest. Over the years, lots were purchased, homes were built, all with an easement that prohibited the construction of a Greenway trail through Anderson Forest. And for decades, Anderson Forest homeowners have paid for, cared for, invested in, landscaped, and paid property taxes on their privately owned properties. This proposed trail through Anderson Forest would run through our backyards, through children's play areas, through jog runs, and very close to family private living spaces like decks and patios. In short, it would be an intrusion on our private property rights. Anderson Forest homeowners will not be bullied into granting an easement for a Greenway they do not want, and the city should not abuse its eminent domain powers to forcibly take our property. Other Greenway trail options exist. The city needs to honor the terms of the easement that it accepted and agreed to nearly 4 decades ago and choose a different route for the Big Branch Greenway connector. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Next up, we have James Anthony.
Good evening. My name is James Anthony, and I'm a resident of Anderson Forest. I'm also one of the neighbors directly impacted by the proposed Creekside option because we live on that stretch. First, I'd like to remind the group that there are sidewalks on the Big Branch side of Anderson Drive, all the way through our neighborhood. Anderson Forest is a shortcut for bikers and pedestrians traveling down Six Forks Road. And guess what? Those sidewalks cross all of our driveways, some of them with better visibility than others. This is simply part of living in a city neighborhood. Everyone must please be careful and on alert. We are used to foot traffic along the front of our homes in Anderson Forest, hence the reason we retreat to our backyards for a more private, quiet, and peaceful enjoyment. Unfortunately, that privacy is frequently disrupted. During the time my family has lived in Anderson Forest, there have been numerous trespassing and vandalism incidents on our property. I shared 3 examples of the more concerning of these incidents during the last meeting, including a recent theft. The statistics shared earlier during this meeting about less crime along greenways versus creeks is false. If we're experiencing this much nefarious activity with no official entry or path, please don't pretend it will decrease when these invitations are installed. These characters do not commit crimes in the front yards in plain view. Because we have already covered these very real concerns, I will share new pertinent information with the group tonight. During the clearing of our yards in 2024 for the upsizing of the sewer line, all vegetation within a 40-foot disturbance area was clear-cut, and the flood frequency has increased significantly. We lost all of our beautiful trees, our privacy buffer, lots of our welcome wildlife, and our shade. Due to the several $1 billion worth of active new development north of us along St. Albans Drive, there's a tremendous amount of new impervious surface and therefore stormwater runoff. It's the developer's responsibility to design and install adequate BMP and stormwater facilities, but inevitably Big Branch Creek will carry more water than ever before. Not only does the creek come over the bank more often, but it happens faster and it carries more trash. By trash, I'm referring to everything from large tree limbs to swing sets. Yes, you heard that correctly, swing sets. Trampolines, play pools, children's pools. In fact, only 1 week ago during a heavy rainstorm, I filmed our backyards filling up. I'm happy to share that footage with anyone who cares to see. As the neighbor who lives on the stormwater ditch, allow me to describe what happens. As the water is flowing down Anderson Drive, it collects in the drains and then that stormwater ditch. The stormwater ditch fills up as the creek rises simultaneously. They meet, and then it's like a flash flood situation. I don't allow my 2 kids to hang out in the backyard when we see the creek rising, and I would advise anyone to stay away from our backyards during a heavy rainstorm. It's just not safe. When I lived on Allegheny Drive, 2 children were swept
Mr. Anthony,
away.
if you wouldn't mind wrapping up your thought.
Yes, 2 children were swept away. I really don't want that to happen again, so I advise staying away from the Creekside option. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony. Next, we have Calvin Kerbin.
You've seen me before. My name is Calvin Kerbin. I live in 3249 Anderson Drive. I want to thank you, all the board, for allowing me to speak with you again. And I want to thank the members who've been able to come out and view our property firsthand. It's difficult to comprehend the continued justification for this project in the face of clear legal, environmental, safety, and public opinion. The potential environmental harm is staggering. Segment 1B directly contradicts the goals and requirements of the 2022 Capital Area Greenway Master Plan, which states, quote, "The CAG program is a crucial protector of Raleigh's natural environment, committed to preserving the natural character of the land, stream corridors to manage stormwater runoff, and riparian corridors for water quality and wildlife habitat." Yet Segment 1B, which will immediately be adjacent to Big Branch Creek and within the 30-foot riparian buffer, stands in direct opposition of this plan. It fails to preserve the stream corridors along Big Branch Creek. It compromises riparian buffers essential for water quality. It disregards the nature and natural characteristics of the land, and it does not protect stream buffers in flood-prone areas. Further, the stream side alignment violates state-mandated rules requiring a minimum 30-foot buffer of undisturbed vegetation from the top of a stream bank. The CAG plan warns that thermal shock of aquatic life when heated stormwater from impervious surfaces flows directly into streams, threatening fish, aquatic life, and vegetation. Even the CAG's Planning and Design Guide explicitly advises against trails located immediately adjacent to stream banks. Despite this, Segment 1B is
within the critical, highly sensitive Zone 1 riparian buffer and the FEMA floodway. Placing an impervious surface greenway in a riparian buffer that experiences frequent flooding and severe erosion deliberately contradicts the city's master plan and the city's planning design guide. The City of Raleigh cites its commitment to environmental stewardship, but true stewardship should not be arbitrary. It must be consistent and aligned with the city's own policies and planning. Ironically, Segment 1B flies in the face of sound environmental safekeeping and violates the very principles of the CAG Master Plan and Planning and Design Guide that were created to uphold. Given the clear and substantial environmental concerns, I urge this board to officially oppose Segment 1B along Big Branch Creek. Please allow homeowners return their property to a natural, undisturbed state, which would better serve the environment, uphold the city's own policies, and honor the public trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kervin. Next up, we have Kim Huband.
My name is Kim Huband. I live in Anderson Forest along Big Branch. I want to talk about public safety and the streamside option, starting at the Selby Drive crossing. Once across, one must pass by the entrance of a large daycare, where the sidewalk there is only 2 feet off Six Forks Road. Part of it is paved all the way to the curb for a bus stop. Crossing Plantation Road, not only does one have to watch out for neighborhood and daycare traffic, but this is also the entrance and exit for 44 office condos. The public survey mentioned this problem for the Belvin option, but not for Streamside. A noisy and unpleasant walk leads to the Creekside entrance. Across the road is a Shell station and over 200 apartment units. Some Greenway users will cross to the gas station to use the restrooms or get something to drink. Apartment dwellers are going to cross back and forth across Six Forks Road rather than walk 900 feet down the Selby Drive, wait at the light, cross, and walk back. 23,500 vehicles per day on average pass here. Walking closely along Six Forks and crossing presents a danger to public safety. A 100-plus foot ramp is needed to descend down along the creek. This ramp will often be very slippery. Safety issues involving cyclists and pedestrians will be magnified. The ramp leads down to a floodplain that is subject to fast rising and powerful waters. These waters funnel into the culvert under Six Forks Road. Last week, with just a moderate rain, the creek rose from within its banks to flooding of our backyards in just 9 minutes. I have pictures and videos I can share. What would happen in a flash flood? A ramp that leads downward into dangerous floodwaters is a public safety threat. Floodwaters swirl here as they violently rush into the culvert under Six Forks Road. A ramp in these situations would be slippery, and sliding down into these waters could pull someone under Six Forks Road and result in drowning. Has it occurred to anyone here that the city was wise years ago to accept only a scenic easement? The backyard greenway option runs too close to the creek, creating a situation where a child could slip in and get carried away. When Crabtree Creek rises, the water flow will slow and even stop. In these situations, it creates a lake in our backyards that can remain from hours to days. These lakes leave a lot of slippery sediment behind. The backyard option weaves around and very close to 6 sewer access manholes. Jogging or biking so close to them on slippery trails would be hazardous to the public. There's no room to stay at least 10 feet away per the city's guidelines. The route along our 9 backyards is only a short distance longer than the walk along Six Forks Road. Calling this route Streamside, omitting flooding and other public safety concerns and ramp and bridge construction costs is not an accurate portrayal to the public. Thank you for visiting and for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Huband. Next, we have Helen Kervin.
Hello, my name is Helen Curvin, and I also live in Anderson Forest. And thank you all for coming out to see our backyards and also Crabtree Heights firsthand. The Anderson Forest Streamside Route raises the same issues concerning environmental impact and close proximity to homes that the city recently faced with the Mine Creek Trail Improvement Project, voted on in February 2024. In that case, the city had to choose between rebuilding old Greenway infrastructure near Mine Creek or moving the trail away from the creek and closer to nearby townhomes. City staff's recommendation was to move the trail away from the creek and closer to townhomes. Their reasoning was repeated storm damage to the Greenway system, largely from hurricanes, has caused Greenway closures for extended periods and required costly repairs, especially to bridges. Staff explained that the city has had to pivot on the way we think about our Greenway system, recognizing the long-term problems with trails adjacent to streams. This raises the question, if it made sense to move the trail away from the creek in that case, why is the city now considering placing a new Greenway within 7 to 25 feet of Big Branch Creek? Big Branch flows into Crabtree Creek near Anderson Drive. This area is documented as one of the worst in Raleigh for flooding. Why is the city considering a Greenway in such a sensitive area? For the Mine Creek project, staff explained that crossing creeks with a bridge created long-term maintenance issues and said, if we don't have to cross a creek, let's not cross a creek. So why is the city now considering a new route that requires a bridge across Big Branch, 2 smaller bridges with culverts, and a long ramp? Negatives given for keeping the Mine Creek Trail close to the creek were stream impact, stream bank stabilization, extensive buffer permitting at the state and possibly the federal level, long-term maintenance, and resiliency of the Greenway system. All of these negatives exist with the Streamside route. In the Mine Creek case, City Council listened to resident concerns and voted against staff's recommended route because it would have come within 50 feet of homes and violated an earlier commitment not to build so close. That is exactly the situation here. The Streamside route would run within 50 feet of homes and decks, and in the 1986 deed of scenic Greenway easement includes a clear agreement that the city would not build a Greenway on our properties. Please honor that commitment and vote no on any plan for a Greenway through Anderson Forest backyards. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Curvin. Next, we have Jane Hubond.
Thank you. I live in Anderson Forest. In choosing routes in only these 2 neighborhoods that are adjacent to one another without another alternative or option to choose neither, it sadly, as you have heard, pitted neighborhood against neighborhood. The survey description of the Streamside option resulted in a bias to choosing the Streamside option without a full, accurate disclosure of what that choice entailed. The survey described the Streamside as a flat area and photoshopped it to look ready to lay down the asphalt without describing the inherent problems. Voters voted without knowing the true facts of their choice. An accurate description would have included street-side backyards and environmental impact to already fragile stream banks subject to dangerous floods. No mention was made of the cost. The survey showed a sewer easement. Most voters I talked to thought that meant the city owned a Greenway easement and could be used for it. This is not the case. There will be substantial costs to purchase the land. Other costs include the long ramp from Six Forks, a bridge to cross over Big Branch, 2 more bridges over large riprap drainage ditches, stream bank stabilization, privacy fences, and high maintenance costs due to flooding. The costs are considerable. With a budget of $4.5 million, it reduces what is left for the rest of the construction, which extends out to Sandy Forks Road. How can this decision be made without knowing potential costs? No mention was made of the dangerous flash flooding with deep, strong currents that often rise suddenly without warning, or that Big Branch is protected by the noose riparian buffer rules, which prohibit the Greenway. The stream is fragile because it has already experienced substantial erosion and continues to do so because of the continual construction upstream and the clear cutting of all vegetation and trees during the recent sewer project. The survey appeared to be biased from the start. When the survey was offered to the public for voting, 10 large signs were posted in Crabtree Heights explaining the survey and urging residents to vote, none in Anderson Forest. A pamphlet was also attached to the doorknob of every house in Crabtree Heights, none in Anderson Forest. This put all the neighbors in Crabtree Heights on high alert to get out the vote to protect their neighborhood. Thank you so much for listening to us and letting us share our concerns.
Thank you, Mrs. Hubond. Next up, we have Lindsay Rains.
Hi, Lindsay Rains. I'm in Anderson Forest. I live in the option that you referred to as Streamside, but I call this my home and my backyard. As several of you have graciously taken the time to visit on these hot afternoons, you remember that we will have zero privacy with a Greenway back there. I have 6 windows on the back of my home. 3 are bathrooms, and 2 are my girls' bedrooms. Most of the other homes in this area all have master bed and bath in their backyards as well, for privacy. This is where I homeschool my children. This is where I work from home. And this is where we have backyard birthday parties and where the children play just steps from the Greenway. I empathize with the Crabtree Heights concerns and the things the city has to say about the route through Crabtree Heights, because we all have this in our front yards. We already have a sidewalk on our side of the street and busy traffic on Anderson Drive, which is why we retreat to the backyard. Myself and 4 other neighbors along this route have already called the Raleigh police to have people removed in the last 14 months. Both of my adjacent neighbors, our property line is 10 feet from my home, and I like them. So we have no privacy on the front of our homes, and we have no privacy on the side of our homes. The Greenway will take privacy from all angles. The city will tell you that they will build a fence with shrubs, but this will only create an illusion of privacy because our home's foundation start 10 feet from the floodplain. In conclusion, this trail is too close to our homes. It might be a little further away from some options, but that doesn't make it right. I enjoy other greenways. I would not enjoy walking by torn down trees along the stream so they can create stabilization and whatever my neighbors decide to do on the other side to create privacy in their yards, all while having to go down a steep ramp from Six Forks. To use the Moana 2 movie, which I watch often, there is always another way, and I would hope that you all can find an option that would bring these communities together.
Thank you, Mrs. Rains. Next, we have Shelley Fleming.
Good evening. My name is Shelley Fleming, and I'm a resident of Anderson Forest. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight and to voice my concerns. When my husband and I purchased our home in 2022, we were aware that there were plans to extend and connect the Greenway. However, we did not know that the plan was for the extension to potentially go through our neighborhood, and we likely would have made a different choice in purchasing our home. I have numerous concerns, but in the interest of time, I will discuss my top two, which are safety for my family and privacy. We have 3 young children, ages 5, 3, and 1. We have grown to know and love several of our neighbors along Anderson Drive where the Greenway extension is proposed. One family in particular that we have grown close to has children similar ages to ours, and we frequently play in their backyard. It truly is such a beautiful, private, and safe space. The adults can sit on the patio and be at ease with the children playing in the yard below. There's no secret that greenways can be associated with increased violent crime. While this is more of the exception than the rule, if you do a quick Google search, you can find numerous articles detailing the crimes committed on Raleigh greenways, including but not limited to robbery, battery, sexual assault, and even murder. I can't imagine anyone wanting to increase the chances of crime in their backyard. In addition to safety, this is an incredible invasion of privacy. Because of our proximity to Six Forks, we already experience increased foot traffic through our neighborhood, as well as crime. For these neighbors and for myself, our backyards are a saving grace. Foot traffic in the front yard is tolerable, but invading our privacy by putting the Greenway extension in our backyards would be intolerable for both safety and privacy reasons. It is not in my nature to speak up and to be confrontational. However, I cannot be silent about this. To be honest, it doesn't seem like any of the proposed options are good. When you vote, please put yourself in our shoes. Would you want to increase the chances that your children could be exposed to and even victim to a violent crime? Would you want to retreat to your backyard only to find complete strangers walking through it? Please, I urge you to vote no to Anderson Forest, and please consider another option. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Ms. Fleming. Next, we have Caroline Lader.
Hi, my name is Caroline Lader, and for 23 years, I've lived at 3237 Anderson Drive in one of the homes that could be directly impacted by the Greenway decision. It is very concerning and alarming that the city is using the Phase 2 survey results to justify the Segment 1B Streamside Greenway route. The survey was so flawed that its results are essentially meaningless. The wording used and limited information provided led survey participants unfamiliar with Anderson Forest to select a route without being told the truth. Of course, the term streamside sounds very appealing, but this description is completely inaccurate. Someone even went to the extreme to edit the photos used in the survey. The photos depicted the stream bank cleared of all existing trees and vegetation and positioned the homes farther away from the Greenway than they would be. The photos also admitted the fencing that would have to go up for homeowner privacy. The vision of biking and walking down a streamside area is so far off target, and our residents deserve better information when asked to complete a survey. In addition, the environmental impacts of the Greenway was also skewed in the survey and only emphasized the impact of tree removal for the street side alternative, but completely ignored the consequences of placing impervious pavement directly next to a creek. The survey gave the impression that a sewer easement gives the city the right to build a trail when it does not. The survey even failed to mention the city would need to acquire land from all 9 homeowners, taking away at least 1/3 of our lots through eminent domain. 0.3% of Raleigh's population responded to this survey. That is less than 0.5% of Raleigh residents. Having 1,600 people respond to a survey populated with incorrect information is not a mandate. Raleigh residents deserve accurate and truthful information when voting, and based on what I've outlined, you can see this information is inaccurate and gave voters a very distorted perspective of the Streamside Greenway route. The results from this survey should not drive a decision with such serious and permanent consequences for homeowners and the environment. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Slater. Next, we have Mary Ivy Stewart.
Good evening. My name is Mary Ivy Stewart, and I actually grew up in Anderson Forest with all my sisters. I'm speaking on behalf of my parents who live at 3265 Anderson Drive, but have delayed travel plans right now. The city has emphasized that this trail has appeared in every Greenway master plan since 1976. But when we look closely, those early plans were primarily frameworks, methodologies to identify Greenway potential along streams, branches, and creeks in the Neuse River Basin. Big Branch was simply one of the many listed waterways, and it wasn't highlighted as a prime priority route. In 1986, the city accepted an easement which prohibited the construction of a Greenway trail over Anderson Forest properties adjacent to Big Branch Creek. The city also points to the 2020 Walkable Midtown Plan as validation for this route. But that very document also notes community opposition to running the trail along Big Branch near Anderson Drive. As a result, it included an alternative alignment using existing sidewalks and bike lanes from Crabtree Creek Greenway at Oxford Road to Anderson Drive, Six Forks Road, and Barrett Drive. This demonstrates that there are other viable ways to connect this greenway. While the 6 proposed segments of the Big Branch Greenway connector may be a broader priority for the city, it's clear that segment 1B presents unique challenges. We urge you to please reconsider and recognize that this segment deserves a different alternative, one that preserves the environment, protects the safety, and the character of our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Next, we have Jim Johnson.
Hello, I'm Jim Johnson. I live in Anderson Forest. I'm not one of the affected homeowners. I live across the street from the Scotts. But I do want to express that everybody in Anderson Forest signed a petition strongly opposing a creekside option here. And it really is more of a streamside option. I mean, it's a small stream. I think Mr. Harold put it correctly in that we're really looking both options sort of, we're talking about trying to put a square peg in a round hole. I mean, does it fit? And I'm so thankful that y'all went out there to look at the area, because that's the only way you can really see what's going on. And it's just really, it's not I don't think it's a greenway. It's more of a sidewalk through some backyards is the way I would put it, because that's really what it is. It's a sidewalk through a lot of backyards. And people have a real sense of privacy connection to their backyards. They want to go to their backyards and think, okay, this is mine. And that you're taking that away from them. I live next to Ryan Crawdle, who's across the street as well. He's going to talk in a few minutes, but I used to play basketball with my daughter right next to their house. And if it was usually my shots. If the stray balls would go to the front yard of the Crawdle's house, we'd go over and get it. But if the ball would go into the Crawdle's backyard, we'd sort of sit there and go, what do we do now? There is a sense of privacy that you can't really, I mean, everybody, it's different when you go into somebody's backyard than somebody's front yard. And that is the creekside option is the only option where you're doing that. You're taking somebody's privacy away, and I think the point was made well that now you've got the public on each side of your house, and it's just different. I would ask y'all to really think about that seriously and urge to come up with something else that makes more sense. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next, we have Ryan Crottle.
Hi, everyone. I am Ryan Crottle. As Jim just mentioned, we're neighbors. I live in Anderson Forest with my wife and 2 young kids. And I'd like to reiterate the thanks for all the time and attention you've spent on this matter. It's extremely important to all of us, obviously, and then to the city as a whole. So I really appreciate all the time and effort you've put into this. My friends and neighbors here have clearly outlined the significant concerns we have with all of these options, and specifically as residents and homeowners and taxpayers that will be directly and permanently impacted by this decision. So I think it's important to emphasize a couple of other things that we've heard a bit about so far. But Jim just mentioned that we had a petition within Anderson Forest. That is all 44 homeowners and families to a 1 oppose this option. Whether they're directly impacted or not, every single home in Anderson Forest opposes this option. So I think that's important to point out. We've heard about the environmental impact and the concerns around that, not only because of the flooding issues, but I want to touch on something that was shown earlier, the permeable fencing that would supposedly create some privacy. And we've had neighbors put up permeable fences just like the ones you saw in those pictures. They were ripped down by floods more than once and not replaced because they can't stand and they can't survive a flood. So we don't want to replace those fences over and over again, and I don't think the city does either. So I think that's important to understand as well. And if I also want to touch on, we've heard a lot about safety, security, and privacy, and I'd like to come back to that point about just how close this creekside path is. And it is 15 paces, 15 steps from some of the homeowners you've heard from here today. But if you think about that, that's less than the length of this table right here. So just walk from one end of that table to not even the other end of it, and you are walking into the back of someone's home from the Greenway path. I don't think anyone in this room would want that. And so I just want you to think about that as we're thinking about these options. And so I think we've heard about the data as well, around the 68%, and that's been well documented here. And so I just want to say it just simply makes no practical sense to do the creekside option. And the city has time to find another option. And I don't think any of these 3 are viable options. So let's find another way. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Crottle. And next up, we have Matt Rains.
Good evening. My name is Matt Rains, and to no one's surprise, I'm here to talk about the Big Branch Greenway connector. I also live in Anderson Forest, and we have been at this for a long time, not just tonight, but over the last weeks and months and even years now. And the more I thought about it, I think it's more of a philosophical question and debate than anything. We've heard a lot of statistics and a lot of data. And I'm reminded as I hear it through Adam's presentation tonight of a quote that's attributed to Albert Einstein, where he says that not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. And so what is that philosophical question? And I think it really is, what type of city is Raleigh? Is Raleigh a city where we listen to those engaged citizens, those that have voiced opposition or support? Or are we a city that pushes through projects and process in the name of progress? I think that's the question we have to answer. I don't think it's about Crabtree Heights or Anderson Forest or Industrial Drive. I think it's about the city looking at projects through the lens and the voice of the citizens that have voiced their concerns or their support for it. We have a room full tonight, and I've heard about the overwhelming support for the Greenway system. I don't see anyone in here tonight that's supporting the Greenway system that isn't into opposition of another piece of it. And so I would say listen to the voices that are engaged, listen to the voices that have reached out, not just the ones that have sat behind facelessly on a computer clicking a voting scroll. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rains. That brings our public comment portion of tonight to an end. I want to say thank you to everybody that's here tonight. It's not easy to come downtown, ever. It's not easy to come into this meeting and speak to a bunch of strangers and to speak to us. I think Mr. Rains said it really well, that it's just evidence that you guys are really involved citizens, so we appreciate you guys sharing your feelings about this project. It's a very controversial project. It's not an easy project, as Adam said earlier. All the easy projects have been done. But I want you guys to know that the board hears you guys. We're very concerned. We want to be able to do the right thing, so does staff. And that's what this process is all about. So the process isn't over, but thank you again for coming out tonight. And we will keep you guys posted as we continue to work through this. But thank you. All right, next on our agenda is the
Can I make a motion to have a 5-minute recess?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's take a break.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute recess, thereabouts, and we'll come back in here and reconvene.
We had to have a few recesses.
Yeah. That's why I bring an Nalgene. My other water bottle's heavier. Yeah.
And I like the service. Yeah.
Okay. It's the other reason not to use disposable water bottles.
Here, my mom grew up in Henderson. Yeah, so just had a bunch of friends that
That's all right. That's why I saved you
like
the water
Jimmy
bottle.
Rock and such in the fall. But yeah, that's a lot of my life story. I'm sorry.
All right. Okay. Do we have some people trying to? All right, guys. We're going to get started again so we can get out of here before too late. Next up is the Tarboro Road Park schematic design. And we've got Gary Claiborne to present to us. Thank you, Mr. Claiborne.
All right. Thank you all. Good evening. I'm Gary Claiborne. I'm Capital Project Supervisor with Raleigh Parks. So as just mentioned, I'm here to present the current schematic design for Tarboro Road Park, which is part of the 2022 Parks bond. Just do want to mention that this is a significant investment for the neighborhoods around the park in this part of East Raleigh. So the agenda tonight, I'm going to go project overview and then go over the current schedule, kind of go through the approaches to community engagement that we went through throughout both the concept and the schematic design process, and then go actually over the schematic design itself as well as the public art process and then next steps. And then we'll commence that with Q&A and a vote for your recommendation to send this to City Council. So the project overview, the project does include a full park redevelopment. As you all are familiar with, the current park consists of a community center, the St. Monica Teen Center, as well as several outdoor amenities. The St. Monica Teen Center, as a historic facility and an important teen center, will also will remain as it is, but most of the rest of the site will be essentially demolished and rebuilt into the new park. It will include a new community center, new site layout, and improved amenities. There will be interior improvements to the teen center. The total bond budget for this is $29.3 million, and there's an additional $150,000 in art funding for this. So this project started back in 2023 with a situation assessment and the selection of a community advisory board. After that, we did select a design team as well as a construction manager at risk for this. The construction manager at risk, for those who are not familiar with that, it's essentially a construction management company that helps us during the pre-design process, during the design process, pre-construction process, and then we'll actually be the construction manager when we do go into construction. Over the past year, we have gone through the concept and schematic design process. We do anticipate that construction will start in 2027, last approximately 2 years, with a park reopening in 2029. The design consultant is HH Architecture. The public artist that was selected for this is Deborah Asham, and the construction manager at risk is Clancy Enthes. So the engagement for this project primarily revolved around the formation of a community advisory group. To date, we've had 5 meetings with that particular group. We have had 3 open houses to date. We do anticipate a 4th open house later on this year, kind of as we advance into the next stage of design, just to keep the community, continue to keep them informed with the design henceforth. With each of those open houses, we also had a series of online surveys, and then we also had boards of the projects and a 3D model of the project also in display at the community center. So the schematic design itself, it really centers around the heart of the project is actually kind of the central plaza with most of the amenities kind of surrounding that one central plaza. And you can see from the area, just kind of circle right there, that's the central plaza. And then immediately to the north of that is the brand new community center, which is a 2-story community center, 21,000 square feet total with a gym. We do intend to go for LEED Silver rating on that. There are a series of overhangs that surround the entrance to the building that will kind of serve as a porch and gathering area. As mentioned, we have that central plaza, but connected to that is also a central promenade that we essentially call the past to present promenade because it connects the teen center to the entrance of the community center. We will have a multi-purpose court, which is approximately in the same area of the existing tennis court that's out there right now, but it's going to be reconfigured to serve a purpose that it serves right now. It serves both tennis and also serves as a bike polo court. We're really modifying the court itself to really serve bike polo. If you look at closely in that, and you can see in additional renderings after that, the corners are at 45-degree angles as opposed to 90-degree angles, so it kind of works better with bike polo. There'll be one single tennis court in there, and then also striped out for 3 pickleball courts. There's also a playground, which is approximately 3 times larger than the existing playground that's out there right now. We then also have a park green that's immediately adjacent to the teen center. We have parking that's in the northwest corner, the main parking lot, which is unlike the existing parking lot. It's a little bit more kind of in the back of the park itself, but do want to note too, the design of the community center as well as the design of the site is really made for full visibility across the entire park site, and primarily visibility from the lobby of the community center. So staff that are present there will have visibility throughout the entire park. There's also pedestrian and visual connectivity to the new BRT station that's going to be on Edenton Street. As with all our other bond projects, we also are incorporating green stormwater infrastructure, which you all heard about earlier today, as well as landscape buffers. So here's a plan view of the site plan. Again, just emphasizing the proposed community center and the central plaza area, the playground, the teen center, the multi-use court, and the parking lot. So with the community center itself, it is mentioned it's a 2-story structure. What you're looking at right here is the first floor floor plan. The entrance is here at the lobby, which is a quite large open air structure, open air area. There is a covered porch that extends from the lobby itself again, which can actually be used for putting movable tables and chairs have been discussed, the possibility of rocking chairs, something like that, something that's put out during the day and then brought in at the night just to kind of activate that area. There is 2 multi-purpose rooms within the community center itself. So there's the smaller of the multi-purpose rooms is on the first floor. There's also a fitness studio. The rooms are connected by a rather wide corridor. And then there's restrooms, and then the remainder of the first floor is primarily served for storage as well as for the maintenance rooms associated with the community center. And then obviously there's the gym itself too, which is striped out for basketball, volleyball, and pickleball. The second floor is composed of the larger of the multi-purpose rooms, which takes up most of that second floor. There's also an adjacent warming kitchen, 2 family restrooms associated with that, and another storage room. And what you'll notice here too, the walls obviously are indicated by the black lines. You'll also see those openings within the black lines between the corridor and the gym below. Those are actually windows so that people can actually be up in that corridor looking down into the gym. You'll also see around the gym too, there's also a series of those openings which are meant to represent a series of windows to bring natural light into the gym. So here's a rendering of the entrance into the community center, really as seen from the playground, looking across that central plaza. So that's the entrance and that's the lobby in that area as well. This also gives you a little bit of a preview about the current art concept, which includes a series of illustrations of community members, both past and present, incorporated into the glazing of that entryway. Again, just coming back to the site plan, but really want to emphasize that 3D model that we've used throughout the public engagement process. It's been really helpful to help people visualize during those open houses as the kind of the design has evolved over the past year to be able to show different representations of the community center. But this is the final product right here, just side by side to the bird's eye rendering. So the St. Monica Teen Center, there are a number of interior improvements to this, really meant to improve the finishes and energy efficiency within the center itself, including new flooring, wall painting, window shades, LED lighting throughout, new cabinetry and countertops, acoustic ceiling treatments, and new restroom finishes and fixtures. But I also want to point out too, along the front entry into the teen center, there will be a new plaza area that's really meant to improve the accessibility into the center itself, as well as provide a real good connection to that past to present promenade that I previously mentioned. Being a historic structure, there are no planned improvements for the exterior of the building itself, other than the plaza entryway, which is not actually associated, obviously, with the facade of the building. So the public art process, the artist is Deborah Asham. She has been involved in several other Raleigh projects before, but really for this project, her work was really centered around the drawings of historic places and people important to the neighborhood around Tarboro Road Park, including scenes of community life based on family photos, as well as interviews that she's conducted with community members too. She's also embraced the neighborhood landscapes in her artwork. So how this public art is going to be represented is how, as I mentioned before, within the glazing of the entryway into the community center, as well as metal signage along the past to present promenade that connects the center to the teen center. So next steps, we do plan on going to council next month in August. Next month is also the start of the design development phase, which is really the start of the advanced design stage of the project. As I mentioned, we do plan on a fourth open house. Currently, it is scheduled for October 22nd, but kind of pencil that in. That's not really set in stone totally right now. There may be some change just based upon, how the design progresses between now and that point. But we do plan on the open house to be sometime later this year. So next spring is the start of construction documents and permitting, with construction biddings in early 2027, start of construction in spring 2027, and park reopening in spring of 2029. So with that, staff recommends approval of the schematic design for Tarboro Road Park to send to City Council. And just want to note, I am here tonight with Kristen Hess of HH Architecture and some of our other staff members. So she's present here if you have any questions particular to the more technical aspect of the design. We also have members of our construction management parks team here, which are overall managing the project. And I also want to thank the CAG and the community members that have helped the design process to date. And I also want to point out that this is, as part of this is one of our recreational facilities. I want to extend a thank you to Ken Hessler, Tori Voska, and Kara Stewart, as well as the Tarboro Director, Dwight Campbell, and the Teen Center Director, Aaron Lassane. They've all been really valuable assets in helping get to this point in the project. So,
Awesome. Thank you.
all right.
Any questions for Gary or for the project team? Linda? Do you mind putting your mic down?
I want to thank Stephen and Giovanna for having us at Tarboro a few months ago so that we could actually see the current facility and understand the excitement that this new design is probably bringing to folks who live nearby. Just a word of advice from somebody who's worked in green buildings, LEED certified buildings with lots of beautiful glass that makes a very attractive building, lots of natural light. You need to have some sort of internal light, sunshade control and acoustics, because those large glass surfaces really make echo a problem.
Okay. Thumbs up.
You've already thought of that, right? You've learned that lesson
yes,
already.
very well thought of, yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And I think one thing to point out, too, you may have noticed, those who are familiar with the current center, we're trying to do almost a 180 here in terms of the visibility of the park. If you've even got community center, when you're in that community center lobby, you're just looking out to a very narrow range of the parking lot. We're almost doing just the opposite of that, where we're really opening up the entire view throughout. So,
In.
Sorry. Thank you for this. So at the Parks Committee, I had a question or a suggestion on the teen center. I know that there was a question about how much can be done to the outside because of the facade limitations. I wonder if you could speak to the plaza. Like, is the entry plaza to the teen center really just glorified steps, or is that going to be sort of an outdoor room that kids can be, on the nicer days?
the outdoor room really associated with the teen center is going to be that park green that's to the west of it. If you want to kind of like think about that, that's going to be more of the activated area associated with the teen center, as well as for other events associated with the park as well. The plaza is just really meant to be assisting so you can incorporate, because there is a grade change right there. And historically, there was a set of steps that led just directly up to the entrance. When this was turned into a teen center many years ago, we had to make it accessible, so there was the ramp that was put in there now, which is typical retrofit ramp, you know, not the most glorious thing. So this is trying to incorporate the ramp into the steps in more of an elegant way, but also having it tied to that promenade too,
Okay.
as well.
Will there be any seating, or is it that's reserved
We
for the park?
probably haven't got to that level of design yet. That's something that we can take note of. And I think it does make sense that you bring it up, particularly because there is, one thing I did forget to mention, there is this drop-off loop that's right there that's really intended for parents who are picking up, dropping off their kids, also for if they're running programs in and out of the teen center for the shuttle buses to come. There's a couple of ADA spaces there as well that are directly tied to that. But the idea of certainly putting in seating if you're waiting for somebody to pick you up, that's an idea. So there will be seating also incorporated into that promenade as well. So,
Thank you.
Carrie.
Hey, Gary, I appreciate, I saw quite a few of the comments that we had talked about last time you added in there. Specifically, I think lead is helpful to lead into it. How about that?
that was in the scope all along. We just,
And, you know, it's
Yes.
nice just to see it. It kind of takes it into question.
and we do want that to be a minimum, so the silver.
Absolutely. Understood it's got to be. I know one of the things that you're doing that is pretty substantial is ensuring that neighborhood continues to have something like they have now, in fact, even better. To that point, I would recommend when conversations with the council, you had mentioned there's an opportunity for, during that 2-year period, to still ensure that there's a place for the teens to go and for the community to go. Incorporating that into the conversation feels very important based upon what the requirements are for that neighborhood to have some things to do. To which I would also recommend the conversation about pedestrian safeway, getting across Edenton to get to that. That was the other recommendation I would ask you to consider. But
Yes.
beyond that, it's a fantastic location. Very thrilled with everything I saw for the multifunctionality. All the dance classes, all the community gatherings will still have a great place to be able to go to, so very pleased with it.
Yes, yes. I know that Recreation does have a backup plan for the teen center during the time it's closed down. And in terms of the safe connection across the street down, particularly to the DMV site, once that is developed, that is something that has been looked at. It's also part of the BRT project, too, that there will be improvements to those crosswalks, both on Edenton and
It's just
all the way.
another place to put it in the writing, so that way you can say, okay, we all brought it up.
Yep. And now that the BRT has successfully been contracted, those crosswalks will be built, so.
Daniel?
I wondered if the city has other bike polo facilities, mainly because I just learned that bike polo is a thing and wanted to talk about it more.
We do not, but this has a long-standing location in the Raleigh Park system for this is where the bike polo community goes, so. And that's, I think, I appreciate Gary and the team making like this multifunctional court, so even pickleballers, well, we'll see how pickleballers and like polo people get along, but yeah, it has lots of function to it, but we're keeping that continuation because it really is like a little niche community that comes here for that.
Yeah,
I Googled it. It literally is what it sounds like.
Yeah, They've been pretty passionate. Some of them have actually come out to some of our meetings to just talk about how important this facility is to them.
Yeah. One other thing that was brought up during, I think the first open house, somebody had mentioned, it would be great if there was a facility to help kids, to learn to ride a bike. And so I think programmatically, it's been considered that court could be used for kids learning to ride a bike. It could even, they could set up stop signs, stuff like that, teach kids how to navigate the city typically. So that's another use of that particular court as a special programming element. So,
Other questions? Kara?
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you, Gary. This has been such a wonderful project to be a part of. The team has really been super intentional and very much paying attention to the history of the site and the community feel of the neighborhood. It's very, very important. I think that's reflected so well, especially in like decentering the parking lot and making this such a beautiful space for our neighborhood. So thank you.
well, it's the design team that's done a great job in working with the community and the CAG and our other staff. I think that's really how it came about. So, yeah. And thank you for being part of the CAG too. So.
Kate?
No, I'm good. It's beautiful.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions, comments?
I can make a motion to approve the recommendation to send to City Council.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes. Thank you, Gary.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
All right, now it is time for our director's report.
I'm happy to return the time to the board if you feel like we're going long. There's a pretty extensive one in the packet, or I can go over.
We're here.
We're here. Yeah, let's hear it.
Actually, I'll do like a top 10. There were some very interesting things staff put in here. We're getting an electric train at Pullman Park, which is very exciting. We hosted World Refugee Soccer Tournament, which has been successful the last couple of years. We had multiple Juneteenth events across the park system at John Chavis and Carolina Pines. We're currently in camp season, so 1,400 kids a day we have in camp. And we've had some really cool camps. We've partnered with the Camden Institute on free Digital Tech Explorers Camp. We've had a specialized recreation camps, multiple ones at Durant, Marsh Creek, and Carolina Pines. My favorite in the director's report this month, and I was not aware of this, we had a unified basketball league, which was combining individuals with intellectual disabilities and individuals that do not, and they play in a league together. And the staff put in here that we've had an official officiating for 40 years, and he said this was the best thing he's ever officiated. So pretty incredible. Those of you who have not been to the Bailiwick Pavilion, I encourage you to go out. We've listed that last year we had 16 teams. This year, we have 16 teams and 156 players in our league. Last year, we had 8 teams and 79 players, so really has taken off. We lost a very large tree at Roanoke Park, but we worked with the community and worked with our Office of Raleigh Arts, so stop by and see the new piece of public art that we created out of the tree and installed it back at Roanoke Park. We are in pollinator season. Well, we've been in pollinator season in May, June, and July, so we have some wonderful pictures that are in the director's report. Gibson Play Plaza, does anybody have a guess on how many people went in the first month?
2 million.
What did you say?
100,000.
More. Someone said 1 million, not 1 million.
101.
200,000.
Oh.
In the first month. And according to the statistics I have in here, let me jump back. It was the second highest visited location in North Carolina during that time frame.
I will say kudos for the city getting recycling there because there were no recycling cans initially. So that was brought into the location. So thank you for doing that.
Interesting. I did not realize that. We have a new mural at Shelley Lake. We have something called Seek Raleigh. It's where we invest small grants with local artists, and we just awarded 8 of them to 8 different artists. So if you go online to the Office of Raleigh Arts and put in Seek, S-E-E-K, they're like $5,000 and $6,000 grants, but it really supports artists that are kind of getting themselves going. We currently have the midweek market at Moore Square. We also have Evelyn's Book Club at City of Raleigh Museum, which is honoring Evelyn Pope from the Pope House. And tomorrow, please email my staff and thank them. It is Parks and Recreation Professionals Day, and July is Parks and Recreation Professionals Month. So we celebrate our staff every day. On June 26th, we had something really, really cool. We hosted Cullen Jones, who is a Olympic athlete and who has won several gold medals. And he kicked off, we participate in the world's largest swim lesson, which is held all across the world to promote swimming safety. But he went to multiple pools and swam with several of our kids from Biltmore and other seasonal pools, and was just like a wonderful experience for, he allowed kids and parents to hold his gold medal. He was filmed on the news. It was just, I got to hold a gold medal, which was really cool. And of course, at the end, we don't have anything significant in the pipeline, but we do have a link to the zoning cases that are currently going on if you have any questions. And so, yes.
We don't get that electronically. Could you help us?
The
the director's report?
It is in the agenda.
It's in the agenda?
It is,
Oh,
yep.
When I looked this morning, I couldn't find it. Okay, I'll look again. Thank you.
All right. Other questions for
questions?
Stephen? Anybody? No? Okay.
How many camp scholarships have we given out so far?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. If we don't have it this evening, we will get it back to you as a follow-up.
Great.
Yeah. But we did have a very successful.
Rex Appreciation Day tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
All right. Any other questions for Stephen? All right. Thank you, Stephen. Committee reports. Parks Committee, Carrie was nice enough to agree to give the report this week.
I feel like we kind of just did. The entire agenda was the Tarboro Road project, so we recommended approval, headed this direction, so.
All right. Well done, committee. That worked out. No Fred Fletcher report, Greenways Committee.
Similar to Carrie, our entire Greenway was Big Branch.
Okay. SWAT.
Well, I have stuff to report. We had a really good meeting earlier this month, and we were mostly talking about the leaf out plan, which is what we tend to do. Charles had sent us the priority focus areas for staff for this coming year that are really leaf out focused. And it gave us a great way to talk about just a lot of different issues with trees. And I hope we gave some really good feedback to staff through that. It was a fun meeting. And another thing that made the meeting fun was that the Rotary Club of Raleigh, which I think is the oldest of the Rotary clubs in Raleigh, they have decided they just had this idea of planting 250 trees or helping to plant 250 trees in Raleigh for the 250th anniversary of the United States. And they reached out to Daryl Kane, who's our partnership person for parks, and he said, well, we have a group for you. And so they came and spoke at the SWAT meeting. They are just brimming with energy, and it's so exciting. And their goal is to raise at least $75,000. And the last I talked to the fundraising chair, they'd already raised $24,000, so they're well on their way. And they're planning their first tree planting in October at the Executive Mansion. So, and that really came about at the SWAT meeting because one of the people who was there is doing all this landscaping there, which was really great. So, and they are very interested in getting involved with whatever the leaf out planting becomes. A lot of that has been talked about as 24,000 trees for the 240th anniversary of Raleigh. So, and so we're continuing to work on that. And one other thing to report, you may all know that the City Council voted to phase out loose leaf collection from streets, and there'll be, transportation has been handling it. It's, they're going to shift so that leaves are picked up in bins, in the yard waste bins instead. And so there's going to be this whole transition, and you're wondering, what on earth does this have to do with SWAT? One of the things that we've had in our work plan for a number of years is being interested in supporting efforts to encourage residents to leave their leaves as much as possible, because it's really great habitat for insects and actually just wildlife in general. And so the more leaf leaving we can do, the better. And so we've reached out to the communications department for the city, who is handling that effort to let residents know about this change. But Charles has reached out to transportation and solid waste, so that we'll be discussing about, what could we do to help get that message out. So as we make this transition, is there a way to help educate residents about why, if you can leave your leaves, why that's a good thing to do?
By any chance, did they bring up how to request covers for the drains? That way the leaves don't go down the drains and impact the stormwater system?
Oh, so actually, because of that being, that's one of the reasons, one of many reasons that the city has decided to get rid of loose leaf collection. So now, I think it happens, it's not happening this year, it'll be next year, they'll make the transition, but you can no longer put your leaves out on the street, and they have to go into bins. There were a whole lot of reasons for making the change, including that it was just incredibly expensive and picking up in time was a real problem. And then that issue that leaves would just sit there forever while they were getting to it. So, and it's been something that the city council has talked about for years, and that they made a decision. It was a big, tough decision to make, but they did it. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago or so. Does that answer your question?
It's information.
Yes.
All right, any other questions for Kate? Okay, thank you, Kate. All right, liaison reports, no Arts Commission liaison report. BPAC, Bob?
I can say they have not met since we last met, but there's considerable focus going on pedestrian safety and crosswalks, and adding to the number of crosswalks we have that have audible signals for those who can't see, like that. So that's it.
That's great. City of Raleigh Historic Cemeteries Advisory Board? No report. And they are potentially being retired soon, so that may be the last time that they do or do not have a report. Dick's Leadership Committee, Dick's didn't meet, so there's no report. Historic Resources and Museum Advisory Board, Jeff?
A couple quick things, because it was 3 weeks ago and my memory's fuzzy. We're getting a new flag, right? New Raleigh flag?
I think there is interest amongst a small group of organized people that want to change the Raleigh flag. I don't know if the council would have to officially vote on it, and they have not, but individuals have come to the, yeah.
Okay. Lucky Tree is now open in Moore Square. Got that right. And my word was that historic cemeteries is merging with historic resources.
Yes, how that looks. Charles and Troy and Adam, the whole group will work together on what that looks like. Yes.
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Any questions for Jeff? No? Okay. Nominations Ad Hoc Committee Designee. The reason it says designee, it's coming up to that time where we're doing chair and vice chair nominations and elections again. Jeff and I are eligible for reelection, but everybody else on the board is also eligible. So if you want to run, you can. Because Jeff and I are eligible for reelection, neither of us are going to chair that committee. But if you are interested in chairing it, just talk to me. You can talk to me after the meeting, or you can just email me. Sorry? Send it to Giovanna. You actually don't have to send it to me at all. Yeah. So if you're interested, let her know. We'll do elections at the next meeting, I believe. Or we'll share nominations at the next meeting, and then we'll vote the meeting after that. Yeah. Okay.
The vote will happen at the September meeting because we don't meet in August, but the nominations will go through tonight through August 21st.
Yeah.
So if you would like to nominate someone, send those to me. Since we don't have anyone that has volunteered right now, I just need one volunteer.
And you can self-nominate as well. Doesn't have to be right this minute, but if it is, that'll save Giovanna some time. All right. PRCR, Parks Bond Community Engagement Liaison Reports. Anybody liaise with their CAG?
Forestville Park is going ahead. The survey is open right now for the design, top 3 design options, and I would recommend you just to take a look. It's an interesting park, and have anything to add to that? Okay.
All right. Any other reports? All right. Chair reports, I'll keep it brief. Thank you, guys. I appreciate all the time you guys have spent on the recent projects that have been in front of us. It shows the passion of this group, and it shows how much you guys really care. Please keep it up. It's not going to be an easy decision, but I'm confident that we'll make the right one. So thank you. Without anything else, this meeting is not yet adjourned.
As a reminder, the August meeting is not happening. That is your vacation month. Please enjoy it, and we'll see you in September. The September meeting is scheduled for September 11th, which is the second Tuesday, not the second Thursday, not the third Thursday. So I will send reminders close to time, but just wanted to make sure you all have that on your calendars.
All right. Anything else?
One comment.
Oh, Ian, go ahead.
So just a general comment. Sorry. With the hundreds of parks and hundreds of miles of greenways, and the fact that, as multiple people said, there are no easy projects going forward, I really think we need to consider surveying neighbors to the parks and greenways to find out, the good, the bad, what lessons we can learn for future design. And I think that would be a major initiative, so you'd have to want to do that yourself.
Yeah,
but
we just did that in the Greenway Master Plan.
It's coming?
No, we did that during the Greenway Master Plan just a couple of years ago. That's what drove kind of our direction of.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
You're ahead of the game. Thank you.
All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.